subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Synopsis: Ishigamihara traveled through the ninja world and became a descendant of a small family in Konoha that married marginal people from major ninja clans. He carried the blood of major ninja clans, but unfortunately, he never awakened his bloodline. Fortunately, there is a daily settlement system, which can change his daily behavior skills. Washing became a skill, which made him the first male succubus in Konoha with max charm. Eating became a skill, which made his stomach like a furnace and could eat everything. Sleeping became a skill, and he brought back an Uchiha ghost from the underworld in his dream. Exercise became a skill, which activated his body's bloodline. When stimulated by the chakra of the Uchiha ghost, he actually opened his Byakugan and Sharingan. In this way, a ninja with swirling red hair, Byakugan in the left eye, and Sharingan in the right eye appeared. 001, the most handsome man in Konoha. Autumn of the 39th year of Konoha night. The evening breeze was cool, the fallen leaves were rustling, and the autumn was getting deeper. In an ordinary house in the civilian area east of Konoha village, the doors and windows were closed, the curtains were drawn, and the room was dim, with only the faint light of a few candles illuminating the room. The furnishings in the room were simple. In addition to the bed and chairs, there was only a square table, and a boy was standing in front of the square table. The boy was called Ishigamihara. He had long, light red hair, which was not common. It was casually tied into a ponytail. He was dressed in ordinary clothes, but he looked very good, with red lips and white teeth, three-dimensional facial features, and he was very handsome. At this moment, he was quietly looking at the things on the table in front of him. There were not many things on the table, some bottles and jars, and some special solutions in them, some of which looked like blood, and some of which were indistinguishable. Ishigamihara glanced at the wall clock and frowned slightly. It's almost 12 o'clock. The pointer moved slightly and soon pointed to the number 12. At the same time, a slightly mechanical sonata sounded in Ishigamihara's mind, just like what he heard every midnight after crossing over. Ding! Daily settlement begins. Midnight to 6 a.m., sleep. 6 a.m. and 7 a.m., wash and eat. 8 a.m., exercise. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., study. 11 p.m. to 3 p.m., eat and research. 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., study. 6 p.m. to midnight, eat, exercise, research. Evaluation, a boring day. Listening to the familiar evaluation, Ishigamihara curled his lips and continued to listen with concentration. Keywords extracted: sleep, wash, eat, exercise, study, research. Settlement distribution in progress. Distribution completed. Sleep +1, wash +1, eat +3, exercise +2, study +2, research +2. Ishigamihara let out a long breath, and as soon as his mind moved, a light screen that others could not see appeared in front of him, and on the light screen were listed many eye-catching keywords. Sleep, 4106/5000. LV3, fast sleep, deep sleep, a dream. Washing, 5937/1000. LV4, decontamination, cleansing, beautification, fairy-like appearance. Eating, 12996/15000. LV5, fast digestion, enhanced taste buds, iron teeth and copper teeth, stomach like a furnace, swallowing everything. Exercise, 5000/1000. LV4, physical fitness, strong bones and muscles, fast recovery, active body. Learning, 4861/5000. LV3, photographic memory, enhanced comprehension, analogy. Scientific research, 537/1000. LV1, precise operation. Cooking, 1003/2000. LV2, delicious supplement. Handicraft, 532/1000. LV1, dexterity. Seeing this, Ishigamihara's brows relaxed, and he finally smiled. I have finally reached LV4 in my training, and I am learning faster. What effect will this active body have? Ishigamihara was looking forward to this. He was not a native of this world, but a time traveler. He traveled through time without knowing what was going on. He was born with memories of his past life, and it didn't take him long to find out where this world was. Ninja world. Ishigamihara was naturally nervous after traveling to the ninja world. After all, for ordinary people, the dangers of the ninja world are needless to say. If they are not careful, they will be cannon fodder. But fortunately, time travelers are always a bit special. Ishigamihara is like this. He comes with a system that he can't name, which gives him confidence. The system function is very simple. It only settles Ishigamihara's daily behavior and turns some behaviors into skills, such as eating, sleeping, exercising, and these skills will be upgraded with experience, and skill keywords will be attached after upgrading. Each keyword is a special ability, which can also be called a characteristic. For example, the decontamination characteristic given by washing and brushing upgraded to LV1 can allow Ishigamihara to easily wash off his own dirt without even using cleaning supplies, and can have such an effect by just washing casually. In addition, the cleanliness after upgrading to LV2 can allow Ishigamihara to keep himself clean and hygienic for a long time, which is very practical. And the beautification after reaching LV3 has exceeded the scope of normal ability and has a bit of specialness, because this kind of beautification can adjust one's own mental outlook with each washing and brushing until it reaches its own perfection, achieving a miracle of slow plastic surgery, which is why Ishigamihara's appearance in this life is so outstanding. This is only the effect of level 3, and the fairy appearance of level 4 is even more exaggerated. What is the fairy appearance? It is the appearance of a fairy. Outstanding appearance, handsome appearance, and unworldly temperament. Not like ordinary people, as if the fairy came to the earth. This is the fairy appearance. Let's put it this way. It's also thanks to Ishigamihara that he turned off the fairy appearance effect of level 4. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to go out. Even if he only turns on the beautification effect of level 3, he has been called the most beautiful man in Konoha, which is recognized by the villagers. It can be called a human succubus. This alone makes Ishigami, an ordinary surname, a bit special in the village. As for the characteristics of other skills, they also bring Ishigamihara a lot of benefits and gain effects, such as the 3 skill characteristics obtained by training, not to mention the physical fitness and strong bones, which make his physical fitness far beyond ordinary people. Although the LV3 skill characteristic of training is fast recovery, the result it brings cannot be underestimated. Since acquiring this characteristic, Ishigamihara's recovery ability has been amazingly improved. He has done experiments and found that ordinary body wounds can be restored to their original state within 3 to 5 seconds. As for whether he can regenerate a broken limb, Ishigamihara did not dare to try, but he thought it should not be possible. But even so, just the fact that he can recover quickly has given Ishigamihara the foundation to look down on the ninja world. He estimated that his current physical fitness would not necessarily be worse than that of the first-generation Senju Hashirama, and he might be able to attack someone's mind at any time. Ishigamihara closed his eyes slightly and felt some changes in his body at this moment. This change came slowly, but it was obvious. It's different. His whole body was itchy, his eyes were sore, his heart beat faster, and his blood flow became faster. It seemed that something hidden in his blood wanted to break out of the ground. This feeling was very strong. Ishigamihara clenched his fists tightly and felt it for a while, but he felt that there was still a little difference. The things hidden in his blood seemed to be a little weak. Then he saw a light blue aura surging around him, which was the result of overactive chakra, blowing the surrounding tables and chairs rustling. What's going on? Ishigamihara opened his eyes and observed himself, and found that there seemed to be no changes. He went to the bathroom in a few steps and looked in the mirror, and then he found the difference in himself. Hair color, redder. If the hair color before was just light red, Then the hair color at this moment was as red as blood. Other than that, there was no special change in the body, but the chakra in the body seemed to be boiling. Because of many skill characteristics, Ishigamihara, who was only 12 years old, had a chakra far beyond that of ordinary people. According to his own estimation, the original chakra was probably at least 5 cards, but now it has at least doubled on the original basis. You have to know that Ishigamihara was born a commoner, and according to the bloodline theory of this world, having a chakra of 5 cards is already good. But now the chakra doubled in just a moment. This increase is really scary. Moreover, although this change is gradually weakening, it has not stopped. Looking at his bright red hair, Ishigamihara inexplicably thought of someone Uzumaki Kushina. Even his hair color at this moment is even brighter than Uzumaki Kushina. Does the active body enhance some of the body's potential? This hair color is the level that can only be achieved by the pure Uzumaki bloodline. Thinking of this, Ishigamihara's expression became strange. It seems that I can only find the answer slowly later. Ishigamihara did not dwell on this. The effects of many skill characteristics were all explored by him bit by bit, and he had long been accustomed to it. Even now, the effect of the dream of sleep level 3 has not been figured out. So Ishigamihara will sleep every day without fail in order to figure out the specific effect of this skill characteristic. Then he lay down to rest as usual, and Ishigamihara soon fell into a deep sleep. But this time, there was a special change compared to the past. Since the sleep skill was turned into a skill, Ishigamihara has never been dreaming again. But this time, Ishigamihara entered a dream. He dreamed of a world with many stars in the azure blue, and each of those stars exuded a strange breath, as if it was a complete dream. Ishigamihara went deep into this world, saw dreams one by one, felt the chakra breath in them, and realized that one of the dreams had an inexplicable attraction to him. So he subconsciously reached out to touch it. Buzz. The dream disappeared immediately. But before it disappeared, Ishigamihara felt as if he had brought something back from that world. When he opened his eyes, it was already early morning. Damn Uzumaki brat, did you bring me out of the underworld? How did you do it? A murderous voice sounded in his mind, and Ishigamihara frowned immediately. 002 double I technique bloodline. This sleep was longer than before. Since the sleep skill was turned into a skill, Ishigamihara has never slept for such a long time. In the past, it was only 2 or 3 hours at most. Ishigamihara frowned and stood up. He ignored the voice in his mind and thought carefully about the dream last night. Everything in the dream was so clear, as if he was in the scene and really went to another world. Especially one of the dreams. Every detail was revealed under Ishigamihara's observation. Those dreams were all beautiful dreams. If they were really other people's dreams, it can only be said that those people in that world were immersed in their own beautiful dreams, and this time might be forever. Little ghost. The voice in his mind appeared again, with a stronger murderous intent. What are you arguing about? Shut up. Such a strange experience happened to him, but Ishigamihara was not surprised at all, as if he had expected it. After all, with this panel, Ishigamihara could accept any bizarre things. It can be said that he had been mentally prepared for it. The voice was silent for a moment, and then it sounded again. Damn Uzumaki brat, do you want to die? Ishigamihara looked normal, got up and washed as usual, and made breakfast by himself, completely ignoring the clamor of the voice in his mind. What year is it now? Where is this? How long have I been dead? Uzumaki brat, answer me. Ishigamihara wiped his lips slowly, and, after cleaning up, he replied to the voice, I don't want to talk to ugly ghosts. All of a sudden, the owner of the voice was like someone was choking his neck, and he was instantly furious. Damn brat, die. As the voice fell, an evil chakra appeared in Ishigamihara's body. This chakra seemed to be born with evil and gloom, like thick blood that could not be dissolved. It penetrated from Ishigamihara's body. Inexplicably, the feeling from last night reappeared. Ishigamihara felt that his chakra was like gasoline ignited by sparks, boiling in an instant. Buzz. A light red flame appeared on the surface of the body. Ishigamihara felt that his eyes were extremely sore. The power hidden in his blood was completely activated at this moment. Without any hesitation, Ishigamihara came to the bathroom again and looked at the mirror with wide eyes. The self in the mirror had long red hair moving without wind, and blood-red flames were surging around him. And the black pupil of the right eye also turned blood red at this moment for some reason. In the blood-red pupil, one by one, the Magatama was appearing one by one, until there were 3 Magatama in triangular symmetry in the eye. The color of the left eye was fading rapidly, and the dark iris began to fade, and it was gradually matched with the white of the eye around it. Both the iris and the pupil were changing towards the color of the white of the eye. The person who was shouting in his mind was also very excited when he saw this scene, and his voice sounded like he had seen a ghost. How is it possible? How could someone from the Uzumaki clan open my Uchiha Sharingan? In your left eye, no mistake, that's the Byakugan. Who the hell are you, kid? Ishigamihara closed his eyes again, and the strangeness around him slowly disappeared. He still ignored the voice in his mind until a moment later, and then he opened his eyes. Sharingan and Byakugan, sure enough. Until this moment, Ishigamihara knew the effect of the ability characteristic of body activation, activating the body's potential. However, the activated bloodline surprised him. It turned out to be a Byakugan and a Sharingan, which was really strange. Kid, what do you mean by this? The voice asked. Ishigamihara looked normal and did not show any abnormality because of the sudden opening of the 3-Tomo Sharingan, and calmly accepted this fact. After thinking about it, he knew what the rewinding of last night's dream meant and what the power of the dream was. He actually dreamed of entering the underworld and brought back a person's soul. So, you're a deceased member of the Uchiha clan? Ishigamihara asked. The voice was silent for a moment, as if trying to digest everything it had seen. After being asked, it said, "Yes, I am from the Uchiha clan." "So, what's your name?" "Damn kid. Remember, my name is Uchiha Izuna." Ishigamihara raised his eyebrows, and the owner of the voice noticed the subtle facial changes and asked, "Do you know me?" Ishigamihara nodded and said, "I know. He is the younger brother of Uchiha Madara and a genius in the history of the Uchiha clan." You're a little knowledgeable, kid." Ishigamihara curled his lips and said, "Unfortunately, he was killed by the flying thunder god of second Hokage, Senju Tobarama." Ishigamihara knows how to anger people. As expected, Uchiha Izuna became angry again, and the chakra that had disappeared reappeared on his body surface, and Ishigamihara felt the soreness in his eyes again. At the same time, the potential hidden in the blood was also touched by this special chakra and gradually became active. But unfortunately, the effect this time was not as strong as before. Ishigamihara only felt that his pupil power had increased slightly. In addition, the 3 Magatama was still 3 Magatama, and there was no trend of opening Manjiki. As for the Byakugan, it also only slightly increased the pupil power, and the change was not big. Uchiha Izuna is not stupid. He calmed down quickly after being angry. After seeing Ishigamihara's performance through his perspective, he immediately had a guess. "Did you do it on purpose?" Ishigamihara did not answer, but shook his head slightly and sighed inexplicably. "What a pity. Damn kid, what do you mean?" Ishigamihara did it on purpose. Under the stimulation of Uchiha's chakra, just now, he successfully opened the 3-Tomo Sharingan, letting Ishigamihara know the effect of the skill characteristic of muscle activation. With this attempt, he completely understood how to use the skill characteristic of muscle activation in the future. In short, under this skill characteristic, one's own physical talent has reached a critical point, and as long as there is a little special stimulation, the power in the blood can be activated, commonly known as blood limit awakening. In this regard, the 2 attempts just now have already produced results. In a ninja world, blood has great power. Ishigamihara is naturally aware of this. With the skill of active body, Ishigamihara knows that his time has come. "My name is Ishigamihara," the deceased of Uchiha. Although I don't know how I got you to myself, it seems that we can only get along well from now on. Ishigamihara lied, and he didn't intend to explain. The more closely he kept the most important secrets, the better. Ishigami? The family that sells stone. Uchiha Azuna's voice was full of surprise. Ishigamihara's mouth twitched, but he still nodded and said, "Yes, it's the family that sells stone." Hearing this, Uchiha Azuna's voice seemed particularly strange. Your red hair is a characteristic of the Uzumaki clan. The middle part is curved and slightly wide, just like the Take-Torai clan. You are handsome, just like the Uchiha clan. In addition, you have a full forehead, which is a bit like those idiots of Hyuga. They like beautiful foreheads the most. The voice paused here, and then it was incredible. No wonder you can open your Byakugan. Could it be that the delusion of your Ishigami clan really succeeded? What delusion? What kind of words are you talking about? Ishigamihara really didn't want to answer this question, but what Uchiha Azuna said was true. The surname Ishigami is very common in Konoha and can only be regarded as a civilian class, but that is because the Ishigami clan is a staunch shadow-protecting faction. After the Senju clan integrated into the civilians, the Ishigami clan unswervingly followed this strategy. The only difference from the Senju clan is that the Ishigami clan still insists on the surname Ishigami, and that's all. It seems that the Ishigami clan is nothing special, and the reality is indeed so. It's just an ordinary small ninja clan. But if we go back hundreds of years, this surname is a bit special in the ninja world. As early as the Sengoku era, the Ishigami clan was not a ninja family, but a business family. Because the ninja world at that time was full of wars between ninja clans, the Ishigami clan, which started out by selling stone materials, felt their own weakness and envied the strength of ninjas, so they had the idea of improving their own bloodline. So the ancestors of the Ishigami clan slapped their heads and came up with an amazing idea to ask for marriage from the major ninja clans. Anyway, they have money and give enough betrothal gifts. The ancestors of the Ishigami clan have a clear self-awareness, knowing that their family is weak, and they don't ask for the core members of the Bloodline Ninja Clan. As long as they can be given the family surname in the Bloodline Ninja Clan, they're the targets pursued by the Ishigami clan, even if they're just members of the Bloodline Ninja Clan who cannot awaken the bloodline limit. Over the past few hundred years, the ancestors of the Ishigami clan married women from the Uzumaki clan, blind members of the Uchiha clan, the Hyuga clan, the Take-Torai, Mizunatsuki, and even the mystical families such as Ino Shikisage. After the unremitting efforts of the ancestors of the Ishigami clan, the Ishigami clan finally transformed from an ordinary business family into a small ninja clan that mastered chakra and ninjutsu. Because the Ishigami clan did not have too many interests and only guarded the stone business, the Ishigami clan was not affected in the chaotic Sengoku era. After all, a family that is not a threat at all, but is obsessed with becoming a ninja, has the stone supply needed by all the major ninja clans, and knows its own clear positioning, will not let those ninja clans have any covetous hearts. To some extent, the existence of the Ishigami clan is one of the few jokes in the Sengoku era, and has always been laughed at by the major ninja clans. However, it is unknown that the Ishigami clan relied on this obsessive clan rule to spend the Sengoku era in a carefree manner and perfectly integrated into Konoha. You laugh at Ishigami's madness, and Ishigami laughs at you for being stupid. That's roughly the situation. 003 look down on all families equally. To be honest, the Ishigami clan's self-positioning is now roughly the situation that my relatives are everywhere in the ninja world. Although this kind of relatives is very watery, it also ensures the orderly inheritance of the Ishigami clan from the Sengoku era to the present. Although Ishigamihara didn't want to admit this, Yu himself was in this situation when he traveled through time. Facing Uchiha Azuna's question, he could only admit it. It's unbelievable that you actually relied on that extremely thin bloodline to let you, a little kid, successfully awaken the bloodline limit. And it is the Sharingan of my Uchiha clan. Ha ha kid. For now on you can be named Uchiha, the noble surname. I refuse. Ishigamihara looked normal and calm. Uchiha Azuna's voice stagnated, obviously a little unbelievable. But Ishigamihara ignored it. He packed up the belongings that were scattered last night because of the chakras rolling up the energy, and after doing all this, he went out leisurely. The area where Ishigamihara lives is considered a civilian area in Konoha, but it is also prosperous and close to the location of the ninja clan and the ninja class. In addition, Ishigamihara's handsome appearance makes him quite popular in this area. It's Brother Hara. I just made potato cakes. Would you like some? Good morning, Mrs. Keiko. I've already eaten. Why call me madam? Call me sister. Oh, it's Harakun. You look so handsome today. You're too kind. Good morning, Harakun. My waist is a little sore. Can you ask Harakun to help massage it? Good morning, Mrs. Sato. Please be reserved. Brother Sato will be unhappy if he knows. The neighbors are very enthusiastic. It would be better if those women could be calmer and less enthusiastic. Every day when he goes out, he will definitely be stared at by those women. And at the same time, he will also be hostile to those men. Lucier has long been accustomed to this. I didn't expect you to be so popular. In his mind, Uchiha Izuna's voice seemed to be a little resentful. Ishigamihara raised his lips. You'll get used to it in the future. Do you understand the value of Konoha's handsome guys? Damn kid, you seem to look down on me, Uchiha. Ishigamihara kept smiling and greeted every neighbor politely, while responding faintly in his mind. Please don't think too much. I don't look down on your family. What do you mean, kid? You know, being able to be named Uchiha is something to be proud of for anyone. Uchiha Izuna said coldly. Ishigamihara nodded slightly, and then Cade, please don't get me wrong. I just look down on all families, including Uchiha, equally. That's all. Uchiha Izuna was silent by Ishigamihara's words, and for a moment he forgot how to refute. He had never seen such an arrogant kid. Fortunately, this mood was quickly broken by Ishigamihara, and he said, it is now the 39th year of Konoha, and it should have been more than 40 years since your death. As far as I know, the current situation of the Uchiha clan is not very good. What do you mean? Uchiha Izuna was indeed attracted by Ishigamihara's words. Since Uchiha betrayed Konoha, the Uchiha clan has begun to decline, and because of the policy of second Hokage Senju Tobarama, the Uchiha clan is now gradually marginalized in the village. Ishigamihara did not mind explaining the current situation to Uchiha Izuna. As he talked, Uchiha Izuna gradually understood the current situation and was furious for a while. Damn it, how could the Uchiha clan fall to this point? Where is my eldest brother Madara? Is he dead too? Ishigamihara frowned, feeling that his chakra began to stir again. Now that he was in the outside world, he couldn't let Uchiha Izuna's chakra be too obvious, so he deliberately controlled his own chakra to suppress it. His eyes felt sour as usual, but fortunately, with Ishigamihara's control, Sharingan was not activated. Calm down. As a dead person, these things have nothing to do with you. How can you repair it? Look over there. That's the Hokage rock, the first Hokage Senju Hashirama, the second Hokage Senju Tobarama, and the third Hokage Tsurutobi Hiruzen. There's no place for you, Uchiha. To be precise, Uchiha is excluded from the Hokage system, and with your weird personality, it's inevitable that you're in this situation. Ishigamihara came to a street corner and disappeared from the spot in an instant, while still comforting Uchiha Izuna's emotions, and soon arrived at the ninja school. This is the ninja school, which was initiated by the second Hokage, Senju Tobarama. It's a good initiative. He pointed to the Hokage building in the distance and continued. Uchiha Madara was very close to the position of Hokage, but he gave up and betrayed Konoha, which he founded. At the same time, he also gave up the Uchiha clan. So in my opinion, your pride in the Uchiha clan is ridiculous. After all, it is something that can be easily given up. Uchiha Izuna seemed to be digesting all this and didn't know how to respond for a while. It was really because these things were too much of a blow to him. My eldest brother, how could it be like this? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Ishigamihara ignored it, but went straight to the ninja school and entered the class, found his seat, and sat down. As usual, he picked up a book and immersed himself in his own world, without exception. The class was noisy. As a class that had completed the graduation assessment, They had already learned almost everything they needed to learn. Now most of the class was looking forward to leaving school. But all this seemed to have nothing to do with Ishigamihara. "Hey, Harakun, why did your hair color become the same as a blood-red pepper?" asked the classmate next to him. Ishigamihara flipped through the books in his hand and said without raising his head, "Kushina is sitting behind you. I have a feeling that you are going to be beaten." Bang! As soon as the voice fell, the unlucky child who had just spoken was knocked down by someone's fist, and then a voice rang out in the classroom. "Damn it, do you think I'm deaf?" Behind the unlucky child, a girl stood up, clenched her fists, and her long red hair moved without wind, with an imposing manner. "Ah, Kushina, you!" The unlucky kid screamed. "I just asked about Haruko's hair color. What does it have to do with you?" Uzumaki Kushina snorted coldly, grabbed the unlucky kid's collar and pulled it open, turned over and sat next to Ishigamihara, looking at his hair color curiously. "Wow, it's really the same hair color as mine. Wasn't your hair color light red before? How did you do it?" Uzumaki Kushina asked. Ishigamihara looked normal, without raising his head, and said, "I don't know. It became like this after sleeping. Maybe it's a blood problem." After saying that, he closed the book, looked at Uzumaki Kushina seriously, and said, "You know, our Ishigami family once had a marriage with the Uzumaki clan, and I have some Uzumaki clan blood in me." "Ah, that's the case." Uzumaki Kushina slapped his hand and suddenly realized. "So should I call you Uzumikira?" she asked. Ishigamihara opened the book again and said calmly, "I'm sorry to refuse." "Why?" "No reason." One by one, they insisted on changing their surnames, which was inexplicable. Not long after, the teacher came to the stage and looked around the classroom. He was soon attracted by Ishigamihara's hair color. Ishigamihara raised his hand and spoke first. "Teacher Daigo, I don't know why my hair color has become like this. Please don't ask anymore." Hama Daigo wanted to ask something, but after hearing what Ishigamihara said, he had to shut up. There are always some students who are special, and Ishigamihara is such a student. Hama Daigo has long been accustomed to Ishigamihara's eccentricity and did not think much about it. "Everyone, the class division has been completed. Please leave the classroom in an orderly manner if your name is called." Hama Daigo began to call the roll in groups of 3. Soon, only the last 3 people were left in the classroom, including Ishigamihara, and the other 2 were Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato. Hama Daigo said, "Hokage has other arrangements for you. Come with me to see Hokage." 004 Jinchuriki Project Backup. Ishigamihara's uniqueness lies in that he is the most studious among the students of the same class of ninja school. His studious nature is different from that of ordinary people. He does not learn according to the knowledge taught by the teacher, but according to his own needs. Let's put it this way. There's also a library in the ninja school, in which there are many knowledge books that can only be regarded as miscellaneous knowledge for ninjas, but Ishigamihara has read all of these books. In addition, Ishigamihara's grades have always maintained the first place, with full marks, and this position has never been shaken. It is precisely because of this that Ishigamihara's eccentricity is famous in the ninja school and even in the entire Konoha. The reason for this is mainly because of learning skills. Ishigamihara needs more knowledge to complete the increase in proficiency of learning skills. Repeated knowledge does not increase the proficiency of learning, and ninjutsu knowledge is difficult for ninja school students to access, so they can only access those miscellaneous knowledge. But now that I have graduated, the opportunity to access more ninjutsu knowledge has come. Ishigamihara raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard this, but soon relaxed. It was Uchiha Izuna, who had been silent in his mind, who spoke at this time. "Hokage? I want to see what's special about it." Ishigamihara replied in his mind. "You'd better be quiet. Making too much noise will not benefit you or me." Kid, take care of yourself." Ishigamihara didn't care much about this kind of tsundere character and followed Hama Daigo to the Hokage building. On the way, Uzumaki Kushina, who was quite lively just now, became a little depressed for no reason, and Namikaze Minato tried to find a topic several times, but he was hesitant to speak. Ishigamihara saw this and glanced at the 2 people. Combined with the current time, He immediately guessed what might happen, and he was very calm about it. The group quickly came to the Hokage office and saw several people in it when they entered the door. In addition to the middle-aged Sarutobi Hiruzen, there was another old woman who was the most noticeable. The old woman had a peaceful face. Her long wine-red hair was a little dark, and she was wearing a wide robe, sitting quietly on the sofa. She is the one from the Uzumaki clan, Uzumaki Mido. Uchiha Azuna's tone was very surprised. Do you know her? Ishigamihara asked in his mind. TSK, a famous guy from the Uzumaki clan, good at sealing. I heard that she is engaged to Senju Hashirama. When Uchiha Azuna said this, his tone was somewhat resentful, and he didn't know what kind of jealousy he was eating inexplicably. The old woman was indeed Uzumaki Mido, and combined with her being here, it was easy to associate it with the purpose of calling Uzumaki Kushina here. However, after entering the door, Ishigamihara's long blood-red hair still attracted the attention of others. Who was this child? Uzumaki Mido was puzzled. Looking at Ishigamihara's hair color, she could easily guess that this child was related to the Uzumaki clan. Mr. Mido, this child is Ishigamihara, the one I told you about. Sarutobi Hiruzen was also puzzled. He looked at Ishigamihara carefully and asked, Hara, what's wrong with your hair? While speaking, his eyes were still looking at Uzumaki Kushina's head, obviously making a comparison. Now, Ishigamihara's hair color is much brighter than before, and it is 3 times more gorgeous than Uzumaki Kushina. I'm afraid no one would believe that he is not from the Uzumaki clan. Not only him, but also the 3 people on the sofa on the other side, Midokado Hamura, Yuditane Koharu, and Shimura Dan's. The first 2 were fine, with doubts in their expressions, while Shimura Dan's narrowed his eyes slightly, with a strange color flashing in his eyes. In fact, after seeing Ishigamihara's hair color, everyone present had already guessed it in their hearts. After all, such conspicuous red hair, apart from the Uzumaki clan, basically no other family in the ninja world has it. Asking Ishigamihara is more about getting an accurate answer. But Ishigamihara is destined not to answer directly. He shook his head and said, Sorry, Hokage, I don't know the specific situation. It became like this after waking up this morning. Uzumaki Mido smiled at this time and said, This child's chakra is not worse than Kushina. Her words confirmed everyone's guess from aside. Sure enough, as a ninjutsu doctor, Sarutobi Hiruzen knows some things in the village very well and immediately thought of the surname Ishigami. Speaking of which, your Ishigami family has had a marriage with the Uzumaki clan, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Ishigamura lowered his eyes and pretended not to hear. The others looked a little strange. The quirks of the Ishigami family were quite explosive in the entire ninja world. Just thinking about such family rules made people laugh. Seeing that Ishigamura was unwilling to answer, Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed and changed the subject. I originally called you here to arrange for you to lead the Junin, but now it seems that this matter needs to be temporarily stopped. Minato. Yes. Hearing his name, Namikaze Minato stood still immediately. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, From now on, you belong to the Jiraiya team. He is your leader Junin. Sarutobi Shinosuke and Hatake Kumi are your teammates in the future. Yes, Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Well, you and Hamadaigo go back first. Yes. The 2 responded. Namikaze Minato looked at Uzumaki Kushina before leaving, and the latter gave him a reassuring look. Ishigamihara looked at this scene and thought that the real show was about to start. Sure enough, he heard Sarutobi Hiruzen say, Uzumaki Kushina, are you ready? Uzumaki Kushina took a deep breath after hearing this, and then his eyes became firm and nodded solemnly. Yes. Everyone present had a serious look on their faces. Only Uzumaki Mido still had a gentle smile on his face, watching everything quietly. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, and when his eyes touched Ishigamihara, there was a little more thought in his eyes. At this time, Shimura Dan's took the initiative to say, Lord Mito, let that child be a backup. Midokado Hamura and Yuditane Koharu both looked at Ishigamihara and instantly understood Shimura Danza's intention. In fact, both of them knew very well Sarutobi Hiruzen's intention to keep Ishigamihara, but there were some things that Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't say actively, so someone needed to point out at this time. There is no doubt that Shimura Danza was born to do this. Uzumaki Mito was silent, as if he didn't want to see this scene. Uzumaki Kushina glanced at Shimura Danza and the other two in surprise, and subconsciously said, Hokage-sama, this is my responsibility, and I shouldn't involve other people. Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated for a moment before saying, this is a matter of great importance, and we must ensure that it is foolproof. There was no direct refusal, but the meaning of this statement was self-evident. Ishigamihara never spoke from beginning to end, but he also knew what they meant. This was obviously treating him as a backup for Jinchuriki. Ishigamihara still had a calm expression on his face, as if he didn't understand, but he knew it in his heart. Uchiha Izuna spoke in his mind and asked the reason for the matter. What are they talking about? Ishigamihara replied, it's about Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Jinchuriki? Tailed beasts sealed in a human bodies. Uchiha Izuna seemed very surprised. It's true. Uzumaki Mito is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Now the village needs to change the Jinchuriki. Uzumaki Kushina is the next candidate for the Jinchuriki. Apparently, because of my physical changes in Chakra, I was considered as a backup. Uchiha Izuna sneered. It's ridiculous. It's a shame for ninjas to have fallen to the point of weaponizing the tailed beasts and use humans as carriers of the tailed beast power. Calm down. Not everyone has the Manjiki Sharingan like you. That kind of power is a bit excessive for the people present. Ishigamihara said calmly. You actually know Manjiki? Uchiha Izuna was even more surprised. Ishigamihara looked normal and responded calmly. It's not a secret. Why do you think I don't know? You must have a secret. Uchiha Izuna said coldly. You'll know later. Outside, Uzumaki Mito took the initiative to speak at this time, sighed first, and then said, let's follow the original plan. This child, let him stay with me for a few days. There was no obvious refusal, but she took the initiative to block this possibility for Ishigamihara. She was obviously unwilling to let Ishigamihara bear such a heavy responsibility. Perhaps in her opinion, that kind of tragedy, one person is enough. Ishigamihara was a little surprised, just raised his eyes slightly, and met Uzumaki Mito's still gentle eyes. Shimura Danza wanted to say something after hearing the voice, but was stopped by Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, nodded and said, well, this child's bloodline that obviously belongs to the Uzumaki clan has changed. In this case, he is also a member of the Uzumaki clan, so I will leave it to Lord Mito. 005, Keen Intuition Senju Clanland. This place covers a large area with various buildings. As the family of the founder of Konoha, the Senju clan still has a good reputation in Konoha, but now there are only 2 or 3 big cats and small cats in the Senju clan, and the rest have long been scattered throughout Konoha and have also given up the surname Senju. In a courtyard of the clan land, Uzumaki Mito brought Ishigamihara and Uzumaki Kushina back here and entered the hall of the courtyard. The furnishings in the hall are simple, but you can see the exquisiteness of it. Uzumaki Kushina came here as if she had returned home and sat down with Uzumaki Mito, which made Ishigamihara look a little embarrassed. But the one in Ishigamihara's mind was a little chattering at this time, especially after seeing the miserable situation of Senju at this time. He was even more gloating. No one is left in the Senju. I never thought that the great Senju clan would decline to this point. Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama died too early. They should have seen what the Senju clan looks like now, huh? In the end, our Uchiha clan won. The Senju of the forest is just a name. It can be seen that the Senju clan in this Norda land is sparsely populated, which makes Uchiha Izuna very happy. He feels like watching people struggling in the water from a dry shore. Ishigamihara didn't show it on his face, but he sneered secretly. Is there a possibility that the people of the Senju clan voluntarily gave up their surnames and integrated into the civilian class, thus gaining the love and support of the entire Konoha? On the contrary, the Uchiha clan sticks to the rules does things rigidly, and has a bad temper, and gradually loses the support of the people in the village. Hearing this, Uchiha Izuna immediately became furious. "Stinky brat, do you look down on my Uchiha clan?" Ishigamihara curled his lips secretly, but had no time to refute. "Child, don't be shy, sit down." Uzumaki Mito smiled. Yes, Ishigamihara was not polite and sat down opposite him, waiting for the next step. Uzumaki Mito still smiled gently and said to Uzumaki Kushina beside him, "Go call Nawaki back. I have something to tell you." "Okay, Grandma Mito." Uzumaki Kushina gave Ishigamihara a look, which meant that he wanted to remind him not to make Uzumaki Mito angry. Ishigami nodded slightly, knowing that Uzumaki Mito deliberately sent Uzumaki Kushina away, and he had something to say to him. As expected, after Uzumaki Kushina left, Uzumaki Mito's smile faded, and her expression became a little solemn. She stared at Ishigamihara and sighed. "Child, when we were in the Hokage's office, I felt a different kind of chakra on you. Although the fluctuation was extremely weak, I will not be wrong. It is the characteristic of the chakra of the Uchiha clan." Ishigamihara was stunned, and then he was surprised. Just now in the Hokage's office, Uchiha Izuna did have a little chakra fluctuation. It was when she saw Uzumaki Mito, and the subtle fluctuation caused by unexpected emotions was really very subtle. But I didn't expect that Uzumaki Mito, at such a young age, could even detect that little chakra fluctuation. Should I say that she is worthy of being a member of the Uzumaki clan, or that she has the heart of Kagura, or even some senses that have been magnified by Nine-Tails' sense of good and evil? Ishigamihara didn't know the reason. He just needed to know that the person in front of him was not as old as he looked to the naked eye. TSK, the guys of the Uzumaki clan, their chakra perception is still so sharp. This is Uchiha Izuna's evaluation of this. At the same time, as expected, he had a very subtle chakra fluctuation. As expected, Uzumaki Mito looked up at Ishigamihara, but did not say anything more, but quietly waited for Ishigamihara's response. Ishigamihara has never underestimated the old man in front of her. With the 100 healings mark, she obviously has the strong vitality of the Uzumaki clan, but she shows an old face. Perhaps it is just her personal wish. But if you underestimate her for this reason, it is definitely a blind act. Ishigamihara lowered her head slightly, and then let the long hair on her forehead cover her left eye. In the right eye that was exposed alone, a blood-red color appeared, and 3 slightly rotating magatama appeared at the same time. Are you talking about this? Between hiding his Sharingan and hiding the old ghost of Uchiha Izuna, Ishigamihara chose the latter. The reputation of the Ishigami clan is already like that, so he simply pushed the opening of the Sharingan to the bloodline of the Ishigami clan. Uzumaki Mito took a deep breath and then exhaled a long breath. When he spoke again, his tone became more serious. "You actually opened the Sharingan, and you have this bright blood-red hair color, the symbol of the Uzumaki clan, and you opened the Sharingan. What happened to you?" Ishigamihara closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his eyes had returned to normal. "I'm sorry, I can't answer this question because I don't know why. Everything seems very natural." It seems that Uzumaki Mito doesn't have to get an accurate answer from Ishigamihara. Hearing this, he nodded slightly and then said, "Child, do you have a dream? Or what kind of person do you want to be?" The topic change was very abrupt, but Ishigamihara could hear the sincerity from it. Ishigamihara thought about it, then smiled slightly and said, "I roughly want to be a person who is useful to the world." Uzumaki Mito didn't seem to expect to get such an answer from Ishigamihara. For a moment, there was a kind of inexplicable color in his eyes when he looked at Ishigamihara. "You know, I heard the same words from someone before." Ishigamihara looked puzzled. "That man and his companions founded Konoha village. He is the first Hokage and my husband, but you're more knowledgeable than him. He just wants to bring peace to the ninja world." Uzumaki Mito smiled again, and his face became gentler. Ishigamihara didn't know what to say for a while, but Uchiha Izuna in his mind couldn't hold back his emotions. "Senja Hashirama, that damn guy." Ishigamihara sneered in his mind. you'd better control your emotions. This person in front of you is not an ordinary person. If he really finds you, it will be of no benefit to you and me. This Uchiha Izuna snorted coldly, and his voice fell silent. Child, stay here with me, an old woman, for a while. You are also a member of the Uzumaki clan. I have something to teach you. Uzumaki Mito said. Ishigamihara nodded and said, Yes, Master Mito. Although he didn't know what the intention of the person in front of him was, he would not refuse the opportunity to learn more advanced knowledge. 006 exaggerated learning ability soon. A young man with short brown hair rushed in and threw himself into Uzumaki Mito's arms. Grandma, I'm back. Who is he? The young man quickly noticed Ishigamihara and cast a curious look. This is Ishigami Nobuyuki, a very talented child. Grandma hopes that you two can become friends. Uzumaki Mito smiled. It can be seen that Nawaki's personality is very cheerful and outgoing. Hearing this, he walked to Ishigahara and stretched out his hand. I am Nawaki, hello. Hello, Ishigimihara. Please take care of me. Ishigamihara is not lacking in courtesy. He just has a cold personality, not that he doesn't know how to do things and behave. Hey, your hair color is similar to Kushina's. Are you from the same clan? Then why is your last name Ishigami instead of Uzumaki? Similarly, Nawaki obviously had doubts about Ishigamihara's hair color, and the latter just explained. The Ishigami clan once had an alliance with the Uzumaki clan. Maybe the blood of the Uzumaki clan in me was accidentally activated. I see. Nawaki gave a thumbs up and grinned. Very handsome, your hair. Thank you. Uzumaki Mito then said, Nawaki, don't go out during this period. Stay here and accompany Grandma. What's wrong with Grandma? Nawaki was puzzled. Uzumaki Kushina looked gloomy and reluctant to leave. Then Uzumaki Mito said, There are some things that I should let you know. She obviously had no intention of letting Ishigamihara leave and said bluntly, The village is going to transfer Nine Tails to Kushina, which means that Kushina will soon become the next Nine Tails Jinchuriki. So, Grandma can finally rest well. Nawaki was stunned, and then surprised. Kushina's eyes were slightly red, and she couldn't help but say, The tailed beast transfers, and the Jinchuriki will die. The scene was quiet, and the surprise on Nawaki's face froze, looking at Uzumaki Kushina in disbelief. How is it possible? Are you lying to me? Uzumaki Kushina was silent. Uzumaki Mito still smiled, waved to Nawaki, and motioned him to come over. Don't worry, Nawaki. Grandma is indeed a little tired and misses your grandpa very much. This is really a good thing for Grandma, and Grandma can finally relax. I don't want it. Nawaki's tears came, and he cried loudly. Ishigamihara watched from the side without saying a word. This scene was a little strange to him, and he was somewhat unaccustomed to it. It's really touching. Uchiha Izuna's laugh was somewhat unkind. Ishigamihara replied, Are you envious of this? Although they didn't spend much time together, Uchiha Izuna was a little used to Ishigamihara's occasional ridicule and simply stopped arguing. At this time, Uzumaki Mito waved to Ishigamihara again. Child, treat this place as your own home. Don't be restrained. I believe you can become good friends with Nawaki. In the future, please take care of him more. This is my request to you as an old man. Ishigamihara bowed slightly, and his expression was a little serious. Please rest assured, I will. Obviously, Uzumaki Mito said this. There is a deeper meaning in it. She will teach Ishigamihara the knowledge belonging to the Uzumaki clan, which is a kind of compensation. The only thing Ishigamihara has to do is to become Nawaki's friend or supporter. Obviously, Uzumaki Mito can't predict what will happen in the future, but as a grandmother, she only hopes that her grandson's future life will be smoother. Even though Ishigamihara is just a child, Uzumaki Mito has seen his potential. It is also a good thing for Nawaki to have such a friend around. Ishigamihara naturally understands this and has no negative emotions. On the contrary, he is very satisfied with Uzumaki Mito's arrangement. After all, there is gain only when there is sacrifice, and making friends with Nawaki is not necessarily a bad thing. So, is there anything you want to learn? Uzumaki Mito asked. Ishigamihara glanced at Nawaki and Uzumaki Kushina and said without hesitation, I hope to learn more about the sealing technique. Uzumaki Mito smiled and nodded and asked again, have you mastered the one-thread light formation? Ishigamihara nodded. As the most basic sealing technique, it was taught in the ninja school, but it was limited to this. Okay, show me how to perform it. Ishigamihara did not hesitate and formed seals with both hands. The speed was not fast or slow, but very standard, and then squatted down and pressed his hands on the ground. Buzz! A dark pattern emerged, starting from the position of Ishigamihara's hands, spreading like a spider web, and the other end quickly went towards the three people, forming a circle, encircling the ground under the feet of the three people. The three people more or less felt the stagnation of their own chakra. Although it was only a very weak feeling, this sealing technique was indeed successful. The power of the Ikamoka light array is so great, and the effect of sealing chakra is so limited because this sealing technique is the most basic one. Of course, if Ishigamihara bursts chakra with all his strength, then the effect of this sealing technique will certainly not be so simple. But now it is just an ordinary demonstration, so naturally there is no need to use such means. Uzumaki Mito nodded. Not bad. The technique is skillful and the movements are standard. The key is that the structure of the sealing technique is very solid, and your foundation is very solid. The topic has been turned to this, so Uzumaki, Kushina, and Nawaki naturally can't cry anymore. At this time, the two of them also set their sights on Ishigamihara. The latter is okay, because he has learned the sealing technique, but is not proficient, so he can't see anything. But the former is different. Uzumaki Kushina is very talented in sealing techniques, so she can naturally see more from it. With this series of light arrays, she didn't even feel the slightest chakra fluctuation when Ishigamihara performed it, which is already very difficult. Kushina, go get the scroll of the two-thread lamp array. Uzumaki Mito ordered. Uzumaki Kushina quickly went to do it and came back with a small scroll. Means thin thread, and is described as a small candle or bright light. This sealing technique is a sealing technique that uses a small amount of chakra to seal the chakra of others or things. The corresponding difficulty is naturally higher, that is, the network density represented by the thin thread and the number of 9 is even later. And this two-thread lamp array is obviously an upgraded version of the one-thread lamp array. Child, take a look first and ask me if you don't understand anything. Uzumaki Mito said. Ishigamihara was not polite either. He took the scroll and opened it to check. In just a moment, he read all the knowledge recorded on it. He made seals with both hands, this time 12 seals, and squatted down again, pressing his hands on the ground. Two-thread lamp array. Buzz. A pattern more complicated than the one-thread light formation appeared, and the effect of blocking chakra was also stronger than the one-thread light formation. This, Uzumaki Kushina looked sideways, Nawaki widened his eyes, and even Uzumaki Mito was a little surprised. In just a few minutes, the child in front of him successfully mastered the sealing technique of the two-thread light formation. This learning ability was a bit exaggerated. Uzumaki Mito smiled even more, and his eyes looking at Ishigamihara were also full of joy. 007 Ishigamihara's promised the sad emotions had already disappeared because of Ishigamihara's actions. Not only the three people present were surprised, but even Uchiha Izuna on Ishigamihara was surprised. How did you do it, kid? This learning speed, no matter who saw it, I'm afraid they would have a similar reaction. That is a sealing technique, which is more complicated than ninjutsu. The difficulty may not be as high-level ninjutsu, but the complexity is definitely not low. Even if the two-thread lantern formation is still a low-level sealing technique, it should not be learned and mastered in a few minutes. This is really beyond expectations. Ishigamihara's performance was very calm and caved faintly in his mind. Watch it once, then learn it, and then use it. It can be seen that Uchiha Izuna has a lot to say, but in the end he didn't say anything. Obviously, he needs enough time to digest this scene just now. A great talent. Uzumaki Mito smiled and nodded, looking at Ishigamihara with joy in his eyes. At the end of his life, it should be a thing worth cherishing to be able to meet such a young man. This made Uzumaki Mito have an inexplicable feeling, as if the appearance of this young man in front of him was a gift from God to the Uzumaki clan. Especially now after the destruction of the Whirlpool Country, it was nothing less than a kind of luck. Ishigamihara didn't care about the reactions of the other two, but said, "Is there anything more difficult?" Uzumaki, Kushina, and Nawaki looked at each other, as if their eyes were saying, "Is this a monster?" Only Uzumaki Mito smiled unchanged and nodded slightly. "Yes, there are many more. As long as you want, you can learn everything you can learn." "Thank you, Lord Mito." Ishigamihara expressed his gratitude. He needed this new knowledge, so he naturally would not refuse. Of course, it would be best to quickly master more knowledge. As for whether doing so would make others think he was a monster, this was not something Ishigamihara needed to consider. After all, the system features were there. Learning was only a little more than 100 experience points away from upgrading to level 4. As long as there was enough knowledge, Ishigamihara could complete the upgrade in the shortest possible time. Why not? As it turned out, Uzumaki Mito had high expectations for Ishigamihara, and even took him directly to the place where the knowledge of the Uzumaki clan was stored, including hundreds of scrolls, and most of these scrolls were sealing techniques or advanced knowledge related to sealing techniques. These alone, according to Uzumaki Mito's original words, were not all the accumulation of the Uzumaki clan, but only a small part, which belonged to her dowry. It was a pity that most of the heritage of the Uzumaki clan had long disappeared with the war. Now, after her death, these were no longer her private property, but would become the heritage of Konoha. It was obvious that she was in a bad mood when she said this. Uzumaki, Kushina, and Nawaki tried to comfort her, but the effect was limited. At Uzumaki Mito's age, some things had already been let go. Now there was only a little obsession or regret in her heart. And Ishigamihara's response was simple. He said, "This knowledge will not disappear, and the Uzumaki clan will be reborn in the ninja world." After saying that, Ishigamihara stared at Uzumaki Mito seriously. His expression was solemn. "I promise." Although he didn't know Uzumaki Mito's specific thoughts, he could feel her kindness towards him, which was enough. Ishigamihara was a simple person, just repaying kindness and revenge. Moreover, being related to Uzumaki Mito would be of great help to his situation in Konoha or his identity. In the future, doing something for the Uzumaki clan to the best of his ability would not be difficult for Ishigamihara, and he was full of confidence in his future life. "Good boy." Uzumaki Mito stretched out his old hand and gently stroked Ishigamihara's head with some expectations in his eyes. "I'm very happy." Ishigamihara did not object to the other party's behavior, but Uchiha Izuna sneered again. "You have been bribed with a few small favors. If you want ninjutsu knowledge, I have a lot here. In addition, the Uchiha clan has more. Why do you go far away?" In fact, Lucier had considered this before, but thinking of the character of the Uchiha clan, he gave up. Perhaps because he saw Ishigamihara's potential. After Uchiha said this, Ishigamihara could clearly feel his urgency. If this kind of genius cannot be used by Uchiha, it is definitely a disaster in Uchiha Izuna's view. In particular, Uchiha Izuna can clearly feel Ishigamihara's rejection of the Uchiha clan. This sense of rejection is hard to describe, and even a little inexplicable, but Uchiha Izuna can feel it. This is not a good thing for him. He has fought with the Senju clan for half his life, and he wants to suppress the Senju clan until his death. Naturally, he does not want to see this situation. Moreover, Ishigamihara obviously has the blood of the Uchiha clan and even opened the Sharingan, and the 3 Magatama is removed. Such a genius is absolutely impossible to be kept by others. Uchiha Izuna does not mind doing something for the Uchiha after his death. As long as he can suppress the Senju clan, he will be happy with it. But obviously, he underestimated Ishigamihara, who just responded lightly. "Uchiha's knowledge is not suitable for me, or don't like the current Uchiha." "Damn kid, you opened the Sharingan. You were born a member of the Uchiha. You can't escape this identity. Then why don't you say that I also opened the Byakugan and am also a member of the Hyuga clan? Is the foundation of the Hyuga clan worse than that of the Uchiha clan? Ishigamihara asked back. That kind of useless eye-technique bloodline. Do you want to join the Hyuga family? Don't forget, their family has caged bird, and you will just become a bird imprisoned in a cage. Is there a possibility that I look down on both Uchiha and Hyuga? Uchiha has an extreme personality, and Hyuga is even more old-fashioned and conservative. In my eyes, both of you are just waste from the old times. You, Uchiha Azuna, didn't expect that Ishigamihara's response would be so direct. Again, I look down on all ninja clans, including Uchiha and Hyuga equally. In the new era of the ninja world, the outdated guys will eventually be eliminated. Ishigamihara ended the conversation between the two with this, and he didn't intend to entangle with him on this issue. A new era of the ninja world? Who will create it? You? Humph. You are so arrogant. Uchiha Azuna sneered. You will see. 008 Learning Level 4. Essential Insight in 1 day. Ishigamihara's learning experience increased by 12 points, from the original 4861/5000 to 4873/5000, and there were only 127 points left to upgrade to LV4. Judging from this time, it will not take a few days to upgrade. Among the 12 points of experience increase, there is a new ninjutsu, which is water-style ninjutsu, which is only sea level, but it is already a very good ninjutsu. At least it is not accessible in the ninja school. Don't think that sea level ninjutsu is low. In fact, fire-style Great Fireball technique is only a sea level ninjutsu, and it is still a representative type among sea level ninjutsu. Being sea level has already shown that the power of ninjutsu is not low. In addition, there are 2 other sealing techniques. One is the 2-thread lantern array, and the other is the sealing technique, which is to open and seal objects. The sealing technique used when using the sealing scroll is not high level, but very practical. Whether it is sea level water-style ninjutsu or sealing technique, Ishigamihara's mastery speed is very fast, basically in one go. Although it has not reached the proficient level, it is far beyond the beginner. Such a learning speed is really amazing. Ishigamihara is already an absolute genius in the eyes of Uzumaki Mido, and such a talent is naturally worth cultivating. Obviously, this kind of news cannot be concealed, especially for Hokage. This kind of talent is not unique, but it is rare in the history of Konoha. Therefore, Ishigamihara's importance in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart naturally increased. And as expected, there was also a debate in the Hokage office about his future arrangements. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Dans had obvious differences in this regard. Since the child is now with Master Mido, let's train him normally. This is Sarutobi Hiruzen's idea. After seeing Ishigamihara's hair color change, he guessed that the blood of the Uzumaki clan had changed. As Hokage, especially at this critical moment of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki change, he subconsciously wanted to use him to ensure the stability of the Jinchuriki during the change. In other words, Sarutobi Hiruzen did consider him as a candidate for Jinchuriki. After all, no one has more advantages than the Uzumaki clan to become a Jinchuriki. The changes in Ishigamihara at this time are simply a pleasant surprise. But Uzumaki Mido's intervention made Sarutobi Hiruzen give up this idea. At this time, he more or less needed to respect Uzumaki Mido's wishes. Even if Sarutobi Hiruzen is Hokage, he cannot influence his thoughts. But Shimura Dans didn't think so, especially after knowing Ishigamihara's talent, that kind of strong learning ability, and the amount of chakra similar to the Uzumaki clan. No matter how you look at it, he is a promising talent. Hiruzen, you have to know that we are in a war period now, and my root has suffered a lot of losses. It is time to replenish manpower. Hand him over to me, and he will definitely become the pillar of the root in the future. You can't be soft-hearted about this matter. Shimura Dans was very angry. For the sake of the war, the root has a lot of assassination and sabotage missions on the front line, and the loss of manpower is naturally not small. At this time, such a genius appeared, and Sarutobi Hiruzen, as a Hokage, was unwilling to let him go. It was agreed that I was in the dark and you were in the light. Now they're the lost in the dark, and you, the Hokage in the light, are unwilling to help. It's really hateful. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the pipe and exhaled a long puff of smoke. His voice came out in the smoke. Can't you see it? Lord Mito is intentionally taking the child with him at this time, obviously treating him as a member of the Uzumaki clan. Don't you understand the meaning of this? Shimura Dans thought for a while and frowned tightly. You mean Lord Mito wants to treat the child as the seed of the Uzumaki clan left in Konoha? Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. It's a bit inappropriate to say seed. To be more precise, it should be an heir of the Uzumaki clan. Isn't there Uzumaki Kushina? Shimura Dans asked. After saying that, he also reacted. Yes, Uzumaki Kushina is Jinchuriki, a force belonging to the village. Then Ishigamihara is regarded as a member of the Uzumaki clan. Is this how Lord Mito wants to tell us not to take advantage of him? After saying that, Shimura Dan's face became very ugly, because he had already seen that this was not for Sarutobi Hiruzen, but for him, the leader of the root. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, his voice calm. It seems to be like this, so the child cannot be handed over to the root. Shimura Dans was very unwilling and still argued. No, with such a talent and his calm personality, it would be a waste not to become a member of the root. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Shimura Dans and shook his head slightly. This matter is settled. There is no room for negotiation. In an instant, Shimura Dan's face turned red. That was because he was angry. Hiruzen, you will regret it. Sarutobi Hiruzen knocked the ash off his cigarette slowly and then said, I am the Hokage. Humph. Shimura Dan's face looked even worse after hearing this, but he had no choice but to get up and leave angrily, slamming the door. Alas, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and shook his head helplessly without trying to persuade him to stay. As a Hokage, he would not be emotional. In the past, Ishigamihara's arrangement should be in the same way as a normal ninja school graduate. But now, Ishigamihara's external conditions and talents do not allow him to arrange it at will. Originally, because of his first place in the ninja school, he wanted to become Uzumaki Kushina's teammate as a special adjustment. But now it seems that this arrangement is no longer possible, and even a normal team is a bit difficult for him. How to arrange it? It's really a headache. This is something Sarutobi Hiruzen needs to consider. Ishigamihara is not aware of this, and even if he knows, he won't care much. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye, and Ishigamihara finally ushered in the upgrade of the learning skill. Ding! Learning is upgraded to LV4, and the skill characteristics are increased. It is now photographic memory, enhanced comprehension, analogy, and insight into the essence. 009. Everything is a learning experience. The system is good in everything. After talking about daily life skills, the benefits it brings to Ishigamihara are naturally needless to say, and it would take 3 days and 3 nights to talk about it. But there is one thing wrong with the system. That is, there is no specific description of each skill characteristic, but Ishigamihara needs to explore it himself, which is a bit troublesome. Just like the previous film, eating skill from LV1 fast digestion to LV5 swallowing everything, Ishigamihara tried it himself and explored the effect little by little. For example, fast digestion is easy to say. After a meal, you can immediately notice the special characteristics of the skill, which can be said to be clear at a glance. Improving taste buds is also very simple, and it is also a matter of a meal. But starting from iron teeth and copper teeth, if you want to accurately judge the accuracy of the skill characteristics, you can only keep trying. At first, Ishigamihara just ate normally, but he couldn't feel the specific difference until he bit a kunai on a whim and found that it was more bitter than he imagined. After that, he understood the real function of iron teeth and copper teeth. The stomach like a furnace later allowed him to digest wood, and then he could eat all kinds of substances without causing physical discomfort. This includes venom, sulfuric acid, and even magma. Of course, the premise is that the mouth can withstand the high temperature of magma and the corrosion of acid. So whether his iron teeth and copper teeth, stomach like a furnace, or eating everything, the biggest effect on Ishigamihara now is that there are many more energy sources, at least organic matter. As long as the taste is not particularly strange, Ishigamihara can basically eat it. Of course, inorganic matter, such as stones, is not included. Not to mention that they are bland and tasteless. They can't extract any energy, so they are naturally not in Ishigamihara's recipe. Speaking of which, Ishigamihara has already anticipated the effect of this learning LV4 essence insight, but the specific situation still needs to be experimented before a conclusion can be drawn. The Senju clan has a large territory. In addition to the residence where Mito lives, there are more places that are vacant, and there are naturally several training grounds, one of which is the exclusive training ground for Tsunade and his brother. But now Ishigamihara is also in it. In the past half-month, in addition to daily study, Ishigamihara would occasionally fight with Nawaki and Uzumaki Kushina. And in the battle of this day, Ishigamihara finally figured out the specific effect of the essential insight. In the melee of the three people, Nawaki made seals with his hands and shouted softly, Earth-style yellow spring swamp technique. The next moment, the ground under Ishigamihara and Uzumaki Kushina's feet suddenly became muddy and turned into a swamp. During this period, Ishigamihara's eyes were on Nawaki, from him, making seals to him performing this earth-style ninjutsu. The whole process fell into his eyes, which made Ishigamihara inexplicably feel a sense. It seems that as long as you observe, you can fully understand this technique and use it completely. This feeling is like someone is teaching you step by step, but it is just effective information obtained at a glance. And these effective information are the key points of this technique that Ishigamihara has seen through. That is the essence. Without any hesitation, Ishigamihara also made hand seals with his hands, without any pause, and the chakra nature transformation was completed almost in an instant. With the loss of chakra in the body, Ishigamihara instantly felt relieved. It's done. As expected, the next moment, the ground under Nawaki's feet also began to rapidly become swampy and muddy. What? Nawaki was startled and subconsciously looked in the direction of Ishigamihara, but saw that he was pinching the same hand seal as himself. Have you learned the yellow spring swamp technique? He asked subconsciously. This is a B-level ninjutsu. In the original book, it is a powerful ninjutsu that can trap huge summoning beasts such as Manji. Ninja school will not teach it. This level of ninjutsu, although not a secret, required a lot of skills to learn. Obviously, Ishigamihara did not have similar skills before. But now Ishigamihara used it, and judging from his appearance, it seems that it is not as simple as the first time he used it. The melee between the three people is not about victory, but more about sorting out the ninjutsu they have mastered, so that they can be familiar with what kind of ninjutsu to use under what combat conditions. It is an indispensable combat exercise. So after hearing Nawaki's question, Ishigamihara did not hide it, but said, I have never learned it before. This is the first time. First time. Nawaki's eyes widened, as if he thought of something, with an incredible look on his face. Don't tell me. You learned this skill after watching me perform it? Ishigamihara nodded, not denying it. He needs to establish a personality for himself on a certain basis. And now it seems that the personality of genius is indeed very suitable for him. Not only Nawaki was shocked, but Uzumaki Kushina was not much better. She also widened her eyes and looked up and down at Ishigamihara, as if she knew this person for the first time. You guy, she wanted to say something, but her pride did not allow her to say anything unpleasant. And the one who reacted most intensely was Uchiha Azuna. Ishigamihara's performance was challenging his cognition again and again. Just now, he clearly did not feel that Ishigamihara opened a Sharingan. So how did he learn a new ninjutsu at a glance? Tell me, how did you do it? Especially without opening the Sharingan. You can't help but know how difficult it is to learn a ninjutsu by observing it. The flow of chakra and the nature transformation of chakra alone may make it easy. Tell me. Uchiha Azuna seemed very anxious and wanted to know the reason. Ishigamihara's response was simple. I could see some changes in Nawaki's chakra when he performed this technique. Although it was only a slight fluctuation, I saw through its essence. It is not difficult to reverse the whole process. I couldn't see Uchiha Izuna's expression, but if I could see it, Uchiha Izuna's expression would be very interesting at this moment. How is it possible? How could someone do this? This is beyond the insight of Sharingan. As a ninja of the eye technique, and an existence who has opened Mangeki, no one knows the difficulty of this better than Uchiha Izuna. Sharingan is known as the Eye of Insight. It is not as wide as the Byakugan in terms of the breadth of insight, but it is much more accurate. It is precisely because of this that Sharingan can copy the enemy's ninjutsu and taijutsu to a certain extent. But this kind of copying is more like an imitation of knowing what it is, but not why it is, which is completely different from Ishigamihara's learning and reproduction of the essence at a glance. It is clear at a glance which one is better. Especially this is when Ishigamihara did not open Sharingan, and he completed what Sharingan could not do. It is not surprising that Uchiha Izuna was so shocked. There is a sentence that Ishigamihara did not say. After understanding the effect of the essence of insight, learning this kind of thing is no longer a simple written learning, but everything has become the object of Ishigamihara's learning. As long as you can see the essence of something, it is a learning for Ishigamihara. In this case, Ishigamihara's accumulation and improvement will be deeper and faster. It can be seen from this that the power of essence insight is so powerful that it is unbelievable. I don't believe it. Uzumaki Kushina gritted his teeth, his red hair moved without wind, and several golden chains suddenly sprang out from his back. And he shouted at the same time, "This is adamantine sealing chains. Let me see if you can learn one." Nawaki was shocked. Hey, Kushina, you broke the rules." On the contrary, Ishigamihara did not make a sound, but narrowed his eyes slightly, staring at the golden chains around Uzumaki Kushina, trying to see through some of the essence. Facts have proved that the skill characteristics of essence insight are indeed powerful enough. Under focused observation, those golden chains were magnified in Ishigamihara's eyes, and countless tiny lines in the chains fell into his eyes. 010 Master Adamantine Sealing Chains. In Ishigamihara's eyes, the golden chain formed by the special chakra looked like it was magnified by a microscope. No, to be precise, it was more like some kind of essence, and it was automatically manifested, and small and complex patterns appeared directly in front of Ishigamihara. Wei-si, chakra nature transformation. This is the chakra differentiation effect. See Wei-shun. This is the fire seal and also the fire attribute nature transformation. Wei-wu-mao. This order. Water attribute trap. Hai-suyu. It also includes some chakra nature transformation of summoning. Ziyu. Fire seal. In-mao. It is to seal evil. It also includes In-si-su-chun. These are 21 chakra blocking effects. It's so comprehensive. Ishigamihara's mind was clear. Countless knowledge, or information flow, was directly read out by Ishigamihara, and he understood it, and soon figured out the basic principles of adamantine sealing chains. Various complex patterns formed a small sealing technique, which was not complete, but was arranged and combined with each other to form a complete whole, giving people a sense of perfection. This perfection is reflected in the various chakra nature transformations and the combination of sealing spells. It seems that there should be no more and no less. After the combination, it actually has a qualitative change effect. Perfect, really perfect. This is Ishigamihara's first feeling. He looked at the many golden chains attacking him as if he was in a trance, and he was more like a dazed master. Kushina, stop making trouble. If Grandma knows, she will definitely be unhappy. Nawaki advised on the side. When the sealing technique was used, Nawaki, who knew its power, felt a sense of horror. It was obviously just an ordinary melee practice, but now it has become like this. It's a headache no matter how you look at it. But at this time, the two saw Ishigamihara's hands move. He was making a seal. The speed was very fast. At this time, Ishigamihara's hands had become a residual image. Under the seals, the dark lines began to gather on Ishigamihara's body, appearing and disappearing, and more of them seemed to penetrate into the skin. Since it is a sealing technique, it is necessary to seal. The instant state, like Uzumaki Kushina, is because adamantine sealing chains is more of a state of being ready to be triggered at any time. In other words, this technique has always been lurking in the body of the caster, and it is always in a state of being about to be fired. In this state, it naturally needs to occupy a certain amount of chakra consumption. Except for the Uzumaki family with strong chakra, other ninja clans in the entire ninja world may not be able to afford it. This is why adamantine sealing chains looks more like the result of a blood inheritance secret technique. Without a certain amount of chakra, it is impossible to maintain the state of ninjutsu in the body, let alone cast it. Especially this sealing technique, the longer it is maintained in the body, the stronger the sealing ability that bursts out. I think only the Uzumaki clan can afford it. I see. Ishigamihara was happy in his heart, and his mind moved, and golden streamers shot out from his lower back. It was a streamer, not a chain. But both Nawaki and Uzumaki Kushina's faces suddenly changed after seeing this scene. Especially Uzumaki Kushina, who exclaimed, "How is it possible? You really learned it." Buzz, buzz, buzz. There was a buzzing sound in the air, and the chakra ribbons collided with the golden chains, and the air twisted slightly where they collided. All the golden chains were blocked by the ribbons, so they could no longer surround Ishigamihara, which gave Ishigamihara the opportunity to leave the battlefield. Ishigamihara disappeared in a flash, and when he appeared again, he was at the edge of the training ground. At this moment, Ishigamihara frowned slightly, as if he was concentrating on something, and his eyes were already locked on those golden chains. Yes, there is still one step left, chakra nature transformation, which is also a change in form. The ribbons did not turn into chains. Almost in an instant, Ishigamihara understood. So that's how it is. This kind of chakra's form change is completely optional. The reason why it is a chain instead of a ribbon is just to facilitate the finalization of the sealing technique. At the same time, after the final form change is completed, the adamantine sealing chains will be truly perfect. As soon as the thought came to mind, in the eyes of Nawaki and Uzumaki Kushina, those golden ribbons quickly turned into chains and pierced into the ground around them. At the connection between each chain and the ground, there was a dense spell like a spider web, which had begun to take effect. After doing all this, Ishigamihara raised his eyes and collided with Uzumaki Kushina's eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. "Ow?" he asked. Uzumaki Kushina was already a little dazed, and subconsciously put away the adamantine sealing chains. His mouth was slightly open, and he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Nawaki widened his eyes, jumped to the nearest chain, stretched out his hand to touch it, but suddenly found that the space around him was blocked. This is really adamantine sealing chains. How did you do it? How can you learn it just by looking at it? This is the secret of the Uzumaki clan. Even I can't learn it. It's not that he can't learn it, but that he didn't learn it. This shows that Nawaki has been exposed to adamantine sealing chains. It is precisely because he didn't master this technique that it shows how difficult it is to master adamantine sealing chains. Therefore, Nawaki's shock is far beyond that of ordinary people. Crash! The chain was retracted, and Ishigamihara exhaled lightly with a smile on his face. In his mind, Uchiha Izuna's voice seemed to be mumbling, and that kind of shock could not be concealed no matter what. How could it be? How could it be possible? Adamantine sealing chains. How could you? I don't believe it. Is it fake? Can you really see through the trick a glance? Sharingan can't do this. How did you do it? Answer me, kid. Ishigamihara ignored it and looked to another place, and saw Uzumaki Mito had appeared beside the training ground at some point, looking at him with a smile. Mito-sama. Ishigamihara bowed slightly. Grandma, Mito-sama. Nawaki and Uzumaki Kushina also hurried to greet her. Very good. Hara, I was originally planning to teach you this technique after a while, but now it seems that I can rest assured about some things. 011 inheriting the Uzumaki legacy on that day. In the depths of Konoha's death forest, there was a separate area. In an open area, there was a separate altar. It was not quite accurate to call an altar. A more accurate description should be a platform that was not very high. 9 special pillars stood around the platform. They were rock structures and were densely covered with various spells. These spells extended to the ground and gathered all the way to the platform. On the platform, there were 2 small beds with 2 people lying on them, one old and one young. The former was Uzumaki Mido, and the latter was Uzumaki Kushina. Both of them were wearing pure, white, thin clothes, exposing their lower abdomens, lying quietly. Around the platform, there were only a few people led by the 3rd Hokage, Tsurutobi Hiruzen. There were no human figures in the distance. They were the Umbu ninjas responsible for the outer perimeter security. They were firmly controlled all the way to the Death Forest to ensure the safety of this plan. Ishigamihara and Nawaki stood near the platform. The former looked calm and could not see any emotion. The latter's face was full of tears, not sobbing, and his expression was sad. Ishigamihara did not think of comforting Nawaki. The departure of relatives is not a temporary rainstorm, but a lifetime of mud. This kind of thing can only be walked out by the person involved. Of course, Ishigamihara did not do nothing. After mastering a lot of sealing knowledge belonging to the Uzumaki clan, he sealed the Uchiha Izuna in his body before today, according to his own needs. It is not accurate to say that it is a seal. The precise summary should be to close Uchiha Izuna's external senses. The latter can still communicate with him, but can't do anything extra, at least like the previous emotional chakra burst can't do it. After all, today is the handover of Jinchuriki. Ishigamihara does not want to attract the attention of others because of Uchiha Izuna, so it is better to make restrictions early. Let's get started. On the platform, Uzumaki Mido looked at the 2 of them. There was tenderness in his eyes when he looked at Nawaki, and encouragement in his eyes when he looked at Ishigamihara. Grandma! Nawaki burst into tears and subconsciously wanted to step forward, but Ishigamihara held her shoulders. Shaking his head slightly, Ishigamihara said to him, "Don't let Mido-sama down. You have to be strong." After speaking, he glanced at the 3rd Hokage, Tsurutobi Hiruzen, and others, and raised his chin to Nawaki. "Hokage-sama and others are here. You represent the Senju, and your grandmother is still watching you in front. Show your manliness." In front, Tsurutobi Hiruzen naturally noticed the movement here, and said to a tall and thin man beside him, "Orochimaru, don't you want to comfort them?" Orochimaru was pale, with a pair of vertical pupils, just glanced at Ishiguro and Nawaki, and shook his head slightly. "No need." Tsurutobi Hiruzen nodded, and said, "Okay, then you pay attention to the alert situation outside." "Yeah." Orochimaru acted very calmly, glanced at Nawaki again, and then left instantly. There were 8 people from a sealing squad around the platform. After hearing Uzumaki Mido's words, they had already started their preparations. When the preparations were completed, the 8 people jumped onto the stone pillars around the platform, and each occupied one. At this time, Ishigamihara patted Nawaki's shoulder without saying anything more, and jumped onto one of the stone pillars in a flash. Those who knew the matter could easily see that the stone pillars where the 8 seal classes were located were headed by Ishigamihara's. At this time, half a month had passed since Ishigamihara learned adamant sealing chains. During this period, Ishigamihara did not slack off at all. His daily learning tasks had already been arranged. All of this was arranged by Uzumaki Mido. Under his arrangement, Ishigamihara fully absorbed all kinds of sealing techniques. Therefore, Ishigamihara's name as a genius was widely circulated among the upper class of Konoha at this time. Originally, Ishigamihara had no chance to participate in such a major event as the replacement of Jinchuriki, and there was no possibility of even contact. But under the arrangement of Uzumaki Mido, Ishigamihara became the main force in the replacement of Jinchuriki this time. During this period, some people raised objections, such as the 2 consultants Midokado Hamura and Yuditane Kohu, but they shut up after Ishigamihara showed adamant sealing chains. Both of them are knowledgeable and naturally know what level of sealing technique adamantine sealing chains is. Ishigamihara is fully qualified to participate in this matter as he can master such a powerful sealing technique. As expected, Shimura Dans looked at Ishigamihara with more eagerness. Ishigamihara did not know, but just ignored it. As for the reason, he now has such confidence. One thing that must be said is that Uzumaki Mito is indeed a very gentle person, especially to Ishigamihara. Perhaps it was because she met Ishigamihara at the last stage of her life, and because of Ishigamihara's talent and his cold personality. She liked him very much, and even had some love for him because of his orphan status. For various reasons, Uzumaki Mito already treated Ishigamihara as his own junior, and arranged his status to the level of Uzumaki Kushina. In other words, after Uzumaki Mito's death, Ishigamihara was one of the heirs of the Uzumaki clan in Konoha, and to some extent enjoyed the same rights as Uzumaki Kushina. In short, he still had the qualifications to live in the Senju clan's land in the future, and also had a small inheritance right to the Senju clan's legacy. And this part of the inheritance right came from Uzumaki Mito. With this, Ishigamihara's identity was no longer just an ordinary civilian ninja, but a natural Hokage, with an identity similar to Nawaki's position in Konoha. Maybe it's not as special as Nawaki, but the invisible legacy of Zheng Ji is no less, and there are greater possibilities in the future. In this case, just like Shimura Dans, if you want to do anything to Ishigamihara, you have to think carefully. After all, people's words are scary. Uzumaki Mito doesn't seem to have left anything for Ishigamihara, but the two have no relatives. But the other party can do this for Ishigamihara, and Ishigamihara should really be grateful. Ishigamihara and the 8 people in the sealing class almost formed a seal at the same time, and then each of them pressed their hands on the stone pillars under their feet, and a large spell appeared in an instant, merging into the original spell. The spell seemed to come alive at this moment, twisting and winding, and almost instantly spread to Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina. Roar! A shocking beast roar sounded, and then a strong and insoluble light red chakra emerged from Uzumaki Mito's body. Everyone present knew that Nine Tails' transfer had begun. 0-12 dominant seal 9 Tails, the inexplicable pressure acted on everyone. Looking around, a large orange fox head emerged from Uzumaki Mito's abdomen, swelled in the wind, and expanded to a diameter of more than 10 meters in almost the blink of an eye. It was roaring with its mouth open and head raised. The 9 people, including Ishigamihara, did not hesitate at all. They maintained their original in their hands, and several of them began to change seals. Sealing seal. Countless runes climbed onto the head of Hollow Nine Tails like ropes, suppressing Nine Tails' violent chakra and preventing it from further rioting. The atmosphere at the scene was tense. Everyone watched the appearance of Nine Tails, from the first head to the full form of Nine Tails at the end. Such a huge monster appeared in front of everyone. The 9 long tails swung, like huge whips whipping around. The forest in the distance was destroyed in a flash. The thick wood fell like raindrops, and the smoke and dust rolled, and the roar continued. The roars continued. Nine Tails felt the restraints on his body and struggled to separate. Under such noise, the faces of the people in the sealing team turned pale. After all, it takes a lot of chakra to restrict Nine Tails' movements. Most people may not be able to survive. At this time, Ishigamihara looked a little stern and shouted softly. The next moment, then, golden chains shot out from his waist like sharp arrows and pierced through the 9 long tails twisting in the air in front of him. Roar! Nine Tails seemed to feel the pain, roaring wantonly and struggling hard. But under the adamantine sealing chains, all its movements were restricted, especially the 9 long tails, which were even more difficult to move. It is reasonable to say that with Ishigamihara's current ability, it is difficult to completely restrict Nine Tails. Although his chakra is not bad, it is Nine Tails. It is not realistic to completely restrict it. But Ishigamihara does not need to completely restrict it because there is a sealing team to cooperate. Ishigamihara only needs to complete the first step of the Jinchuriki transfer ceremony. Begin. Ishigamihara spoke again, and the other members of the sealing team immediately moved, cooperating with Ishigamihara's adamantine sealing chains to drag the huge body of Ninetales towards the platform. Now, as Ishigamihara finished speaking, Uzumaki Kushina, who was lying on the platform, also looked serious, and golden chains shot out from behind his waist. 4 chains directly connected Ninetales' limbs, and another chain tied Ninetales' neck and pulled it towards his position. Roar! Ninetales was naturally unwilling to be sealed like this, but the 2 adamantine sealing chains, plus the sealing squad's cooperation, made it impossible for Ninetales to break free no matter how hard they struggled. Not to mention that Sarutobi Hiruzen and others were watching closely, and with such preparations, they did not give Ninetales any chance at all. Under the adamantine sealing chains, Ninetales was quickly pulled to the platform, with its huge head facing Uzumaki Kushina. Ninetales wanted to open his mouth, but his mouth was also bound by the chains, so he could only roar and breathe heavily. 4 symbols seal. The sealing squad shouted at the same time and instantly changed the order of the seals in their hands. One after another, spells climbed up from the ground to Ninetales' body, shrinking his body in the huge seal. Ninetales could only be compressed in a chakra by the sealing technique, and was pulled into Uzumaki Kushina's abdomen little by the chains of the adamantine sealing chains. Uzumaki Kushina felt pain. It was the intense tearing sensation after the strange chakra entered his body. This kind of pain is unbearable for ordinary people, but Uzumaki Kushina endured it. Swish, swish, swish. As Ninetales entered his body, he saw the countless spells clinging to Ninetales merge into Uzumaki Kushina's abdomen little by little, revealing a unique pattern on it. The last step, the 8 seals. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but speak out when he saw this. Yes, the sealing team immediately took action. The spell quickly became clear, and wisps of green smoke came out of Uzumaki Kushina's abdomen, as if he was being branded by a branding iron, and his face instantly became ferocious. Fortunately, the whole process was safe and sound. It seemed dangerous, but there were no accidents. Ninetales didn't even have time to say a word before he was transferred to Uzumaki Kushina's body. The whole process took less than a minute in total, but both the people in the sealing team and Ishigamihara had a lot of consumption. After all, it was a tailed beast, and the strongest Ninetales among the tailed beasts. Ishigamihara felt that he was already very outstanding for being able to do this now. In fact, it was not only him who thought so. Sarutobi Hiruzen and others looked at Ishigamihara with some changes in their eyes. Being able to complete this step was no longer something that a simple genius could describe. In the eyes of Sarutobi Hiruzen and others, Ishigamihara now has the posture of a strong man. Grandma, everything is over. Nawaki can no longer bear it and rushes to the platform. On the platform, because of the special characteristics of the Uzumaki clan, Uzumaki Mito is not dead at this time, but his face is pale and he is extremely weak. Don't worry, Uzumaki Mito raised his hand with all his strength, put his hand on Nawaki's head, and smiled reluctantly. I'm going to see your grandfather, Nawaki. You have to be good in the future. Eat on time, sleep on time. I will, Grandma, I will. Nawaki was already crying. Uzumaki Mito turned around and saw Uzumaki Kushina with a concerned face. Child, you have worked hard. Uzumaki Kushina shook her head with a gloomy face. She already knew that Uzumaki Mito was just a last gasp and could not hold on for much longer. At this time, Ishigamihara also fell aside, without saying anything, just watching quietly. Hara, help me look after Nawaki and Kushina, please. Ishigamihara heard the voice and just nodded silently without saying much. Uzumaki Mito looked at Nawaki again. His smile was a little bit unsustainable, his eyes gradually dimmed, and his voice became weak. After the war is over, tell your sister about my departure. Now, don't let her worry. Don't be sad. Be strong. Uzumaki Mito left, as expected, without a sound. Ishigamihara looked at the sky. The sky was clear and blue. For some reason, Ishigamihara felt that the inexplicable alienation from this world that existed since he crossed over to this world seemed to have disappeared a little. Shaking his head, he sighed in his heart. The bond between people? It really corrodes people's minds. 013 draining Uchiha Izuna. The death of Uzumaki Mido marked the end of the generation of first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. At the same time, without the protection of Uzumaki Mido, whether it was Nawaki, Uzumaki Kushina, or Ishigamihara, they all had to face everything in the outside world on their own. Ishigamihara did not live in the Senju land, but still lived in his own home. He only went to the training ground of the Senju land every day to practice with Nawaki and Uzumaki Kushina. Since the death of Uzumaki Mido, both of them were a little crazy. The training was more crazy and hard than before. Every time they practiced with Ishigamihara, they seemed very fierce. Ishigamihara understood this very well, but he did not lighten his hands at all. Practicing with others was an excellent learning opportunity. In just a few days, the many ninjutsu mastered by the two had become Ishigamihara's own things, and he had learned them all. After the sparring ended that day, the three of them rested on the sidelines. Nawaki swept away his previous depression and was inexplicably excited. Haha, have you heard that the Rain Country was defeated and my sister will be back soon? This is the recent war situation, which is indeed good news for Konoha. Ishigamihara knows it well. Konoha is still strong during the Second Ninja World War, but there is still a long way to go to truly win the war. At this point in time, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru have obtained the title of Sannin. Jiraiya and Tsunade are still fighting outside, and Orochimaru has returned to the village to recuperate due to injuries. It is estimated that he will go to the front line again soon. Ishigamihara knows Nawaki's thoughts in his heart, knowing that he has always wanted to go to the battlefield. Thinking back to the plot, Ishigamihara shook his head unconsciously. What's wrong? Nawaki asked. Do you want to go to the battlefield? Ishigamihara asked directly. Nawaki scratched his head and grinned. Did you figure it out? Ha! Ishigamihara stared at him and said seriously, I advise you not to have such an idea. Nawaki frowned and said, Why? I am the grandson of the first generation. I have the blood of the first generation in my body. Going to the battlefield is what I should do. Uzumaki Kushina was silent on the side. Hearing this, Ishigamihara did not persuade him anymore. He knew that no matter what he said, he could not change the other party's mind. So he simply stopped talking. Humph! This kid imagines war too simple. In his mind, Uchiha Izuna snorted coldly, obviously not optimistic about Nawaki. Ishigamihara did not respond, but Uchiha Izuna could not help but speak again. Kid, do you want to learn the knowledge of our Uchiha clan? I can teach you. Finally couldn't help it. It had been more than half a month since Uzumaki Mido passed away. During this time, Ishigamihara had relaxed some restrictions on Uchiha Izuna, but because of Nine-Tails' behavior on the day of the transfer, Uchiha Izuna was unhappy. So during this period of time, the two had basically not communicated much. Ishigamihara didn't care much. He was even trying to expel Uchiha Izuna from himself. The feeling of having another soul in his body was really not good, especially since this person was a lunatic from the Uchiha clan and was related to Uchiha Madara. Ishigamihara felt even more uncomfortable. This was left alone for more than half a month. Ishigamihara never took the initiative to speak, but Uchiha Izuna couldn't help it after all. Why? Ishigamihara asked. Why? Don't you want to? Obviously, Ishigamihara's reaction did not satisfy Uchiha Izuna. I'll think about it. At this time, he couldn't agree directly. It was right to leave Uchiha Izuna alone. At the same time, Ishigamihara said, What I have learned now is enough for me to use at this stage. There is no need to rush for the time being. Damn it. The things of the Senju clan are not as good as those of the Uchiha clan. Don't be ungrateful. Uchiha Izuna was a little furious. Okay, I reluctantly agreed. Ishigamihara was very straightforward this time. Then, Uchiha Izuna was silent. You kid did it on purpose? Uchiha Izuna reacted immediately after seeing all the scenes he had seen. No way, Uchiha. Are you going to regret it? Ishigamihara asked faintly. You? Uchiha Izuna was furious, but still said in a hateful voice, "Okay, I want to see how much you can learn." Facts have proved that Uchiha Izuna knows a lot of things, especially those things about the Uchiha clan's ancestral heritage, which opened Ishigamihara's eyes. Uchiha fluid technique, Uchiha sword technique, Uchiha blade technique, and various fire style ninjutsu. He is really knowledgeable, especially Uchiha fluid technique and Uchiha sword technique, both of which are gorgeous fighting techniques derived from Sharingan. The concepts in them are mostly showmanship, but they are also powerful and lethal, fully demonstrating the advantages of Sharingan. And Ishigamihara's learning speed is completely beyond Uchiha Izuna's expectations, especially after he explained the key points. Ishigamihara understood and mastered it almost instantly. This learning speed once again surprised and shocked Uchiha Izuna. This is not a matter of genius or not, but Ishigamihara's performance is too demonic so that Uchiha Izuna can't find specific words to describe it. It is really too amazing. However, in half a month, Uchiha Izuna found that he had nothing to teach. He had to accept it, which is a very sad thing for a teacher. Ishigamihara's reaction was very flat. "It seems that this is the only help you can give me. What a pity. You little devil." Uchiha Izuna wanted to refute loudly, but the facts have proved that Ishigamihara is right. This kind of monster-like learning ability really makes people like and hate it. At least Uchiha Izuna doesn't know what to teach him anymore. Is it possible to teach him how to behave in the world? He is a dead man. If Uchiha knew how to behave in the world, Uchiha would not be in this situation now. 014 participating in the war, Ishigamihara doesn't care much about Uchiha Izuna's thoughts. Nawaki has been clamoring to go to the battlefield for a while, and it seems that it is difficult for both his teacher Orochimaru and the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, to refuse. After all, Nawaki's identity is special. He is the grandson of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, the real Senju descendant, and represents the Senju family name. It would be fine if Nawaki hadn't said these words, but now everyone knows that he wants to go to the battlefield. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen can't refuse directly, even if he is Hokage. This is the influence of the name of Senju, which makes it difficult for Sarutobi Hiruzen to force it with the identity of the current Hokage. After all, it is now a war period, and everyone in the village is looking forward to victory. As the grandson of the first Hokage, Nawaki can say that he will take the initiative to go to the battlefield, which is an encouragement to the village's momentum. Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally can't sing a different tune at this time. As a result, Sarutobi Hiruzen was in a bit of a dilemma. There was no other way, and in the end, Sarutobi Hiruzen could only let Orochimaru persuade him, hoping that Nawaki would change his mind. After all, his identity was too special. It would be fine if he did not encounter any danger after entering the battlefield. If something unexpected really happened, it would have a significant impact on the morale of the entire Konoha. Don't underestimate the impact of Nawaki's identity. The surname Senju is destined to be special in Konoha, and as the grandson of the first generation, Nawaki carries too many people's expectations. It was under such circumstances that Ishigamihara met Orochimaru again. Compared with the last time, Orochimaru's condition this time was much better. The current Orochimaru has not developed to the level of Uncle Snake in the later period. At this time, Orochimaru is still one of the Konoha Sannin who is devoted to the village and has a lot of popularity in the village. Teacher, Nawaki stopped immediately when he saw Orochimaru appear, very happy. When do we set off? Nawaki asked impatiently. Orochimaru's expression froze slightly, and he forced a smile, as if this smile on his face itself looked a little strange. Nawaki seemed very sensitive at this time, frowned, and found that something was wrong. Are you sent by the third-generation uncle to persuade me, teacher? Orochimaru was speechless, and then looked aside. Hara-kun. Ishigamihara bowed slightly. Orochimaru-sama, what do you think of the war? Orochimaru asked suddenly. This question was very abrupt, but Ishigamihara understood what Orochimaru meant, and said, "War is very dangerous. It will kill many people, make many people lose the people and things they love, and cause many irreversible tragedies. Orochimaru nodded slightly and looked at Nawaki. What do you think of war? Nawaki raised his head. Konoha will win the war. Orochimaru wanted to sigh. He was very satisfied with his disciple, but he had some inexplicable concerns about his character. Are you really ready? Orochimaru asked again. Nawaki nodded seriously. Yes, teacher, I am ready. It seems that there is no way. The old man asked me to persuade you, but I obviously can't persuade you. In this case, Nawaki interrupted Orochimaru directly and cheered. Teacher, do you agree? Orochimaru did not speak, obviously acquiesced. I will go too. At this time, Uzumaki Kushina, who was silent on the side, also raised his hand. Orochimaru. Okay, let's go together. Hara, you come too. The three of us can form a small team. Nawaki was surprised. Ishigamihara. In his mind, Uchiha Izuna snorted coldly. What a brainless guy, no different from Senju Hashirama. Ishigamihara caved. You should be glad that it doesn't know second-generation Senju Tobarama. Humph, Senju Tobarama, that insidious guy. When saying this, Uchiha Izuna gritted his teeth a little, and then said, Kid, you have a strong learning ability, but a ninja's strength requires actual combat and life and death. Otherwise, you will never become a talent. Ishigamihara ignored Uchiha Izuna, and then sighed and said to Uzumaki Kushina, Don't think about it. As a Jinchuriki, the village will never let you go out. You should understand this. Uzumaki Kushina snorted, crossed his arms, and turned his head, his face full of unhappiness. Ah, yes, Kushina, you're a Jinchuriki. You can't leave the village before you completely control the Nine Tails Chakra. Ishigamihara added. Not only that, she can't even leave the Senju clan now, and her range of activities has been fixed. Damn it, Uzumaki Kushina was even more unhappy when she heard this, and her long red hair moved without wind. Okay, Orochimaru took the initiative to speak. The voice was not loud, but it calmed down Uzumaki Kushina. Nawaki, if you want to go to the battlefield, I can take you, but you can't be impulsive. Orochimaru said, Yes, teacher. Nawaki cooperated very well and agreed very straightforwardly. At this time, no matter what Orochimaru said, I'm afraid this guy would agree. As for you, Orochimaru looked at Ishigamihara. I'll go too. Ishigamihara nodded slightly. Ninjas do need to go through blood and fire to truly grow up, which is equally important to Ishigamihara. Especially with his learning ability, war is his best instructor. Ishigamihara had actually thought about this a long time ago, so he didn't resist it. Another point is that Ishigamihara promised Uzumaki Mido. Orochimaru nodded and smiled. With Ishigamihara's company, he felt more assured about Nawaki's safety. In fact, his purpose of coming here was not to persuade Nawaki, but to focus more on Ishigamihara. After all, Ishigamihara's talent has been recognized by the village. Because of Uzumaki Mito, Ishigamihara is already the next generation of the village that Sarutobi Hiruzen is destined to cultivate vigorously. In addition, he has a calm personality and is not impulsive. It would be a good thing for Nawaki to have such a person as a teammate. So Orochimaru came here today to let Ishigamihara participate in the war. To put it bluntly, it is to make Ishigamihara a safety guarantee for Nawaki. Don't think that Orochimaru's decision is cold. In fact, Sarutobi Hiruzen has already considered this point. The reason why he has not made this arrangement for Ishigamihara is that he has other concerns. After all, Ishigamihara is the successor designated by Uzumaki Mido. In some matters, the village's top leaders also need to be cautious. In this case, I'll trouble Harakun. Orochimaru's smile did not change. Although he did not say it clearly, he knew that Ishigamihara understood what he meant. Ishigamihara nodded and said nothing more. 015 Nawaki, you are very brave. It is actually a very troublesome thing for Nawaki to go to the battlefield at this age. I won't say much about his own identity. Konoha is not at the level of the Third Ninja World War. In the First Ninja World War, Konoha's foundation was not reduced too much. The biggest loss was the death of Second Hokage Senju Tobarama, and the other was some normal war losses. During the Second Ninja World War, Konoha first produced Sannin, and many other talents emerged, ensuring Konoha's advantage during the war. This advantage is not just talk. Under almost three-line combat, Konoha still did not show too much decline. This is Konoha's foundation. There are many strong people like Sannin and White Fang who can influence the situation of the war in Konoha during this period, not to mention that there are many elite Jnin and even Jnin, which can ensure that the war situation is not chaotic. So in this case, Konoha really doesn't need to send young people to the battlefield. After all, it is not as difficult as the Third Ninja World War. Especially since Nawaki's status is not ordinary, it is even more difficult to arrange. In desperation, Sarutobi Hiruzen can only arrange Nawaki to follow Orochimaru and rush to the battlefield, so that he can be taken care of. By the way, Ishigamihara is also among the frontline reinforcements this time. Nawaki is difficult to arrange, so Ishigamihara does not have so many concerns, especially since Ishigamihara took the initiative to propose it. Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally arranged him to Orochimaru, and there is also the idea of using Ishigamihara as Nawaki's bodyguard. Don't say how special Ishigamihara's current status is. After all, the current Ishigamihara is still just taking advantage of the will of Uzumaki Mido and naturally cannot reach the status of Nawaki. Little brat, don't be scared to the point of peeing your pants on the battlefield. Uchiha Izuna never misses any opportunity to attack and make fun of Ishigamihara. After all, in his opinion, this kind of novice will definitely not be used to the battlefield, and then he will naturally have his place. Speaking of which, Uchiha Izuna's feelings towards Ishigamihara are very complicated. He is envious of his talent and confused about his current situation, but more of it is still the intention to win him over to the Uchiha clan. The existence of Konoha is extremely dazzling to him. Every time he sees everything in Konoha, it always reminds Uchiha Izuna of his failure with the Uchiha clan, and even his eldest brother Uchiha Madara agreed to cooperate with the Senju clan to create Konoha after his death, which made him feel inexplicably betrayed. But the reality now is that he is a dead man, living in the body of Ishigamihara, a little brat, and can't change anything at all, which makes Uchiha Izuna seem very unwilling. Therefore, every conversation with Ishigamihara was also a test made by Uchiha Izuna. Ishigamihara knew all this, but he didn't care at all, because Ishigamihara now had complete confidence in controlling Uchiha Izuna. Apart from anything else, the several seals he had cast on himself had completely sealed off Uchiha Izuna's soul. By the way, Uchiha Izuna was brought here by Ishigamihara's Imeng Huangliang ability. Although the specific effect of this ability has not been fully understood, it seems that this ability is inherently restrictive to Uchiha Izuna. Otherwise, the two would not have gotten along so harmoniously during this period of time. After all, during this period, Uchiha Izuna did not think about controlling Ishigamihara, but every time Uchiha Izuna wanted to make a move, Ishigamihara could restrict his chakra and eat it to death with just a thought. After all this time, Ishigamihara already knew how to restrict Uchiha Izuna. Now he no longer has the situation of accidentally leaking his chakra when Uchiha Izuna first possessed him, so no one would have thought that there was a dead Uchiha in his body. Thank you for your concern, but these are not your concerns. Ishigamihara's response was still calm. Humph, damn kid, don't cry when the time comes, I won't help you anymore. Uchiha Izuna would naturally not be happy, but all he could do now was just this kind of verbal sarcasm. Ishigamihara was not affected at all on this point. The people on this trip included Ishigamihara, Orochimaru, Nawaki, and a Jnin team, a total of 7 people. The Jnin team was led by Hyuga Jnin, plus Ino Shika CH, and the configuration of the group was luxurious. Ishigamihara was not sure whether this was the same as the original plot, but Ishigamihara was very vigilant along the way. After all, it was a war, and after leaving the village, there was a possibility of encountering danger at any time. Especially since there was a special person named Nawaki in the team, Ishigamihara did not think that other villages would not leave spies in Konoha, But if they paid more attention, the news that Nawaki was going to the front battlefield would not be hidden from people. So there was a high probability of being ambushed along the way. Not only Ishigamihara understood this, Orochimaru had naturally guessed it long ago, and it was based on this that he transferred such a special Jonin team to his side. Nawaki was very excited, as if he could show his skills as soon as he arrived at the front line, and in excitement, it is inevitable that he would act impulsively. I think it should be evaluated by Orochimaru's words. Nawaki, you are very brave. Don't be impulsive. Ishigamihara once again stopped Nawaki's steps forward, and his expression was calm. Just follow the established plan and hurry up. Don't do anything out of the ordinary. Only Ishigamihara could say such words directly. You guy. Nawaki was naturally unhappy, and Ishigamihara had stopped him several times along the way. This is the land of fire. You are too cautious, Nawaki said. Ishigamihara didn't say much, and then glanced at Orochimaru, who looked normal. See that? Ishigamihara pointed at a large rock in front of him. What's wrong? What's the problem? Nawaki wondered. What a good ambush site. Haven't you figured it out yet? Just now it was on our route. I didn't need to do much. I just needed to set up a trap below and bury a few detonating tags. As long as someone passed by, they would explode instantly, Ishigamihara said. As soon as the voice fell, the expressions of Orochimaru and others changed slightly. They were already alert enough, but obviously because they had just left the village not long ago, they didn't think there would be any problems on this road. Wide eyes. Jonin Hyuga of the Hyuga clan also looked at the big rock, and then cold sweat oozed from his forehead. Lord Orochimaru, there's indeed a trap there, and Hyuga also hesitated to speak, but obviously discovered something. 016, the smell of conspiracy. The more you think about it, the more terrifying it is. Orochimaru didn't waste any words. He raised his hand and waved. The Nara ninja among the three people, Ino, Shika, and Seichi, immediately stood out from the crowd and appeared on the big rock. Looking down from above, he soon found clues behind the big rock. Ishigamihara saw this, but he didn't feel surprised. Instead, he looked at Nawaki with interest. The meaning was obvious. You guy. Nawaki was afraid at first, and then he was a little angry after meeting Ishigamihara's eyes. You didn't want to rush over just now. Ishigamihara didn't give him any face at all and asked directly. Shut up. Nawaki's face flushed. Behind the big rock, the Nara ninja had returned, holding more than 10 detonating tags that had not been activated. Orochimaru saw this. His face immediately turned cold, and he looked at Hyuga Tetsuya. The latter said, I didn't see anyone ambushing. The ninja of the Nara family was called Nara Shikashin, and he frowned immediately after hearing this. Lord Orochimaru, our route forward has been exposed. Hearing this, the others also reacted. Orochimaru's face suddenly became even uglier. The route of their group was fixed. Because it was during the war, every time they went to the front line, they had to take a specific route. And such a route, except for the people present, not many people knew about it. After all, this trip was led by Orochimaru, and there was a person with a special identity like Nawaki, so it was even more necessary to keep it secret. Ishigamihara had some guesses in his heart, and Uchiha Izuna was even more sensitive, and he sneered directly. Someone in the Konoha high level wants to take action against that kid. Needless to say, after Nara Shikashin finished speaking, Ishigamihara subconsciously placed a suspicion on Shimura Dance. This guy has a dark style of doing things, and because he missed the position of Hokage in the First Ninja World War, he has been remembering it until now, and it has almost formed an obsession. Others are easy to say. No matter how you look at it, it seems to be inseparable from Shimura Dance. After all, among the entire Konoha upper class, only Shimura Dance has such a motive. Apart from anything else, as the grandson of the first Hokage, Nawaki will definitely be a strong competitor for the position of Hokage as long as he grows up. And Nawaki's identity can naturally win the love of the villagers. Compared with other people, Nawaki has all the advantages here. Combined with the ending of Nawaki in the original plot, he was killed by the detonating talisman. which means that he had no doubt that he would encounter danger on the road. Even if Nawaki is a big-headed person, he should still be vigilant, but he died so simply, and no one would believe that there was no strangeness. What's more, in the original plot, Nawaki's ending was more than that. Even his internal organs were hollowed out. There are many things to say about this. Who wanted to kill him? And he used this method. It must be someone who knows Nawaki very well. After all, as a Senju and the grandson of the first generation, if he inherited the first generation's powerful recovery ability, would the detonating talisman alone be unsafe? Some things are not weighed on the scale, but they can't stop 1,000 pounds on the scale. It's really scary to think about it. Based on this, Ishigamihara has reason to suspect that Shimura Dans must have played a very disgraceful role in this matter. Thinking further, in the original plot, Orochimaru must have noticed something because of this incident, but because there is no evidence, he might even cast a suspicion on the entire Konoha high level, including the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Following this line of thought, could Nawaki's death be the trigger for the estrangement between Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen? After all, given the relationship between Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Dans, it is difficult for Orochimaru, a close friend, not to know some secrets. Thinking of this, Ishigamihara looked at Nawaki with a bit of pity. That's enough. Nawaki couldn't help it. When he came down, he saw Ishigamihara with a cold face in front of him, and he looked at him from time to time. The key point was that the look made him very uncomfortable. Pity? Ruffian? Maybe both. Anyway, Nawaki's self-esteem was at work, and he wanted to find someone to fight it this time. Orochimaru said, "Mr. Tetsuya, please find the person." Hyuga Tetsuya nodded. "Yes, I will find a way." Orochimaru's face was completely cold at this moment. Obviously, he had thought of something. His narrow eyes narrowed slightly, and then he said to others, "Everyone, keep this matter to yourself and don't tell anyone." "Yes, Lord Orochimaru," everyone responded. In fact, without Orochimaru saying it, anyone with a brain can notice something wrong at this moment. I dare not think deeply about this matter, especially since this matter involves Nawaki, the grandson of the first generation, which makes people feel that there are clouds and clouds behind it. Hyuga Tetsuya has fully stimulated the potential of the Byakugan, with veins bulging around his eye sockets, carefully checking every detail around him, seeing that he is wearing a forehead protector. Ishigamihara has reason to believe that this is a ninja from the Hyuga branch house. But whether it is a branch house or a main family, being able to become a Jonin already represents his talent. Especially the Hyuga clan is the best in the ninja world in terms of wide area insight, and is most adept at doing such things. Found it again, Hyuga Tetsuya said, and then pointed in a direction. There are traces of enemy remains in the woods there. Orochimaru didn't waste any words and went in that direction in an instant. Everyone quickly followed and entered the woods and soon found the trace. But it was a few grass stalks that had been stepped on by people, which was difficult to find without careful observation. The clues were basically cut off here, and it was obvious that the other party had been prepared. Damn it, Nawaki was very unwilling, and was particularly angry when he thought that he had brushed past danger. It's not like he doesn't know everything. Especially after this incident, it's obvious that he thought of something bad, so he naturally wanted to find the real murderer. Seeing this, Ishigamihara shook his head slightly, and then took the initiative to say, "Let me try." Orochimaru looked over and heard Ishigamihara say, "I haven't mastered this technique yet, and I don't know if I can find it. Let's give it a try." As he spoke, he had closed his eyes, put his hands together, and formed a seal. What Ishigamihara performed was the perception ninjutsu mastered by the Uzumaki clan, called Kagura's Hard Eye. This is a perception ninjutsu that needs to be combined with the special chakra of the Uzumaki clan to perfectly exert its effect. It's called a ninjutsu, but it's actually closer to a secret technique. The reason why Ishigamihara is not fully proficient is because this technique has extremely high requirements for chakra, not in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality. With Ishigamihara's current chakra, he can perform it, but he can't reach the exaggerated level of sensing dozens of kilometers. It can sense roughly within a distance of 4 or 5 kilometers. Within this distance, I dare not say that I can detect everything, but the general chakra situation can still be understood. In just a moment, Ishigamihara opened his eyes, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and nodded to Orochimaru. Found it, 4 kilometers away in the northwest direction. There's a ninja team evacuating to the northwest. 017 Ishigamihara's first battle, no one was surprised that Ishigamihara could sense such a long distance. After all, the miracles that happened to Ishigamihara were not many, but not few either. Especially Nawaki, who screamed out in surprise, "Have you really mastered the Kagura Heart Eye? Isn't it said that it can only be performed with the Uzumaki bloodline, and it also requires a special chakra nature transformation?" Ishigamihara glanced at him with a strange look in his eyes. Nawaki smacked his lips. "Yes, you have the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan, and you mastered the chakra nature transformation as easily as eating and drinking water. I almost forgot. I'll take it as a compliment." Ishigamihara shook his head slightly. Orochimaru's face relaxed a little at this time, and he didn't say anything nonsense, just waved his hand and said, "Catch up." "Yes." Everyone responded, and Nawaki immediately restrained his expression and became serious. Swish! Everyone disappeared in an instant and chased in the northwest direction. At the same time, 4 kilometers away, a team of 4 was moving away quickly. These 4 people were dressed as Wagakure ninjas from the Land of Thunder, and they all had a calm breath and a calm look. Damn it! If it wasn't for that kid, our mission would have been successful this time. One person couldn't help but speak out. "Shut up! This kind of thing, if you fail, you will find another opportunity next time. Don't forget that the guy leading the team is Orochimaru, and they must not be discovered by them." The team leader immediately scolded, but it can be seen that he was not willing to fail this mission. After all, it was hard to find the information, but it was not grasped no matter how you think about it. You were a little unwilling. It's a pity that there will be no second chance like this. That's the grandson of Senju Hashirama. If you can kill him, it will definitely cause a big blow to Konoha's morale. Another person also spoke at the right time, and several people had similar ideas. "Captain, we should have taken action directly just now," someone said. The team leader looked unpredictable and said in a cold voice, "This mission is top secret. Our battle with Konoha has not yet started. We should not do too much at this time. Watch Konoha and Sand Shinobi fight to the death, and then lure Cloud Shinobi and those crazy people to the end. It is appropriate for us to come out at the end." At this moment, the face of the person at the end of the team changed. "Not good. Someone is catching up from behind." With a cry of surprise, it is obvious that this person has noticed the movement from behind, and the special nature of the perception ninja is revealed at this time. "Damn it, speed up." The team leader did not hesitate at all and immediately gave the order, and his speed was even faster. The rest of the people also changed their faces, knowing that if they were caught up, the end would be miserable. That was Orochimaru, who was called Sannin in the face of Hans of the Salamander, the demigod of the ninja world. Even if they were the Genin team, they might not be able to escape well if they met him. However, what they feared came true. The speed of the people chasing them from behind was much faster than they imagined. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. There were several whistling sounds, mixed with hissing sounds. The faces of the 4 people changed drastically, and they scattered without thinking. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions sounded, and fire appeared in the area where the 4 people were just in. Swoosh! The sound of breaking through the air sounded immediately, and Orochimaru, Hyuga Tetsuya, and the other 4 appeared in the field, and behind them, Ishigamihara and Nawaki were still following far behind. The 5 people in front were chasing with all their strength, and Ishigamihara was protecting Nawaki to prevent any danger, so he and Nawaki fell behind. The battle started immediately. Orochimaru licked his lips, his expression was cold, and his voice was hoarse. "Rock Shinobi guys, so that's it." Seeing these 4 people, Orochimaru immediately confirmed his judgment. Among the Konoha high-level officials, someone must have passed on the information about their trip. Whether it was active or passive, Orochimaru no longer needed to consider it. He just needed to make sure that someone in the village had evil intentions towards Nawaki. As for whether he could catch the 4 people and get specific information from them, Orochimaru didn't care much. These people were able to come here, so they must have a complete plan. Even if they were captured alive, I'm afraid they wouldn't get any useful information. Interesting. Although he said it was interesting, Orochimaru didn't hold back at all. Orochimaru's ninjutsu had already shown signs at this time. The special ninjutsu based on snakes played an unexpected effect when dealing with this group of enemies. Perhaps these people already knew that Orochimaru was not easy to deal with, but those pythons and lion majesty were really hard to defend against, and soon forced the 4 people into a disadvantage. Damn it, you stop them, I'll go kill that kid. The 4 rock shinobi were quite decisive, seeing that the situation was not right. Without any hesitation, the 3 of them completely broke out, and with a desperate fighting style, they actually resisted the attack of Orochimaru and others in the first time. In the field, Hyuga Tetsuya used gentle fist to fight the enemy. Nara Shikashin's shadow imitation technique was very strange, and the remaining 2 people, one Akamichi Tang Lai, performed the multiplication technique, and Yamanaka Yanjiro assisted with the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan. The offensive was strong, but it must be said that the combat power of the 3 rock shinobi under the name could not be defeated or killed in a short time. In any case, the 3 of them could still hold on for just a few breaths, which gave another person a chance to abandon his teammates and rush in the direction where Orochimaru and others came from. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru's face immediately turned cold. Ninjutsu. Snake flip technique. Puff, puff, puff. Suddenly, holes appeared in the ground, and huge pythons with long snake mouths rushed out from them, easily eating the enemies fighting with Orochimaru from all angles. In this process, the opponent also killed several pythons, but in the end he still couldn't escape death. The whole process was quite straightforward, and Rock Shinobi didn't have time to make the desired resistance. After doing all this, Orochimaru immediately turned around and chased behind at a very fast speed, like an afterimage. But because of this delay, the person who just rushed over had already met Ishigamihara and Nawaki. Looking at the rock shinobi with a ferocious look on his face, Ishigamihara had no expression on his face, but Nawaki on the side was somewhat nervous. But the next moment, Nawaki couldn't help but widen his eyes. Ishigamihara made a seal with his hands and completed a technique in almost an instant. Water-style water dragon bomb technique. Water condensed out of thin air under Ishigamihara's feet, turned into a water curtain, and twisted into a water dragon, attacking the opponent. But in Nawaki's eyes, Ishigamihara had disappeared at this time. If you can keep up with this figure, you will find that Ishigamihara has appeared behind the water dragon's head at this moment, waving his hands quickly, and kunai shot forward one by one, forming a fan shape. If you observe more carefully, it is not difficult to find that there is an extremely hidden silk thread behind each kunai. After doing all this, Ishigamihara moved his hands again and completed another technique in an instant. Fire-style dragon fire technique. He opened his mouth and spit out fire like arrows, which were attached to the silk threads and shot forward. At this time, the rock shinobi had already reacted. He formed a seal with his hands, and his chakra surged. With a resolute momentum, he actually smashed the dragon head of the water dragon bomb technique directly, and then his momentum slowed down slightly, but he still came towards the 2 people. What? But when this person rushed through the blockade, his pupils shrank, and he had already seen the burning flames like sharp arrows. Ishigamihara raised the corner of his mouth and pulled the silk thread in his hand suddenly, and several flames immediately turned into fire lines, cutting towards the person. 018 show off your amazing talent. Swish, swish, swish. The rock shinobi's heart sank inexplicably, and he could hear the whistling sound of a sharp weapon cutting through the air. As far as he could see, several lines of fire were approaching him, blocking all the areas above, below, left, and right where he was. All this was done in an instant, but at this moment, Rock Shinobi was in mid-air, with nowhere to get leverage. Seeing that Rock Shinobi was about to die on the spot, This man was worthy of being the Jnin of a Wagakure with extremely rich combat experience. At this critical moment, he instantly twisted his mind, formed seals with both hands, and spit out sharp stones from his mouth. Earth-style 100 Geki technique. The stone looked like a magnified version of the Senbon, very sharp, and also whistled out. As Rock Shinobi twisted his body and hit the surroundings, he accurately hit the lines of fire and actually avoided the dead end in this way. But when he saw this scene, Ishigamihara's expression did not change at all. He just shook his wrist, and the fire lines surged like wave plates. At the front of the fire line, the Tide Kanai seemed to be stimulated by something, and their forward trajectory was affected, and then they collided with each other, making a tinkling sound. When Rock Shinobi heard this sound, he was inexplicably startled, and suddenly had a strong premonition that he was going to be in trouble. As Rock Shinobi thought in his heart, a sharp whistle came to his ears again, but it was the Kanai that were intended to pass him, and at this time, several of them were actually shooting towards him. This feeling, Uchiha blade technique. As a veteran on the battlefield, this Rock Shinobi knew what the tricks in front of him were, which were the Uchiha Shuriken technique he had fought before. In midair, this man subconsciously glanced in the direction of Ishigamihara, but couldn't help but widen his eyes. He did not see Ishigamihara with Sharingan. In other words, this is not some Uchiha blade wielding technique. But how is this possible? He did not have time to think about it, and his sufficient combat experience still allowed him to react at this critical moment. Without any hesitation, it was too late to turn around again, and he saw Rock Shinobi directly put on his vest and swung it fiercely behind him. Puff, puff, puff. With a few muffled sounds, the attacking Kanai was blocked so easily, which seemed very light. Having been on the battlefield and experienced many battles, Rock Shinobi naturally knew how to avoid being injured. Although he just dealt with it lightly, if he did not have enough experience, he would have been in trouble. Until this moment, the crisis for this person was resolved, and he had already landed. Just by stepping on the ground with his toes, he rushed out again, and his speed was 3 times faster than before, and he attacked Ishigamihara and Nawaki directly. At this time, Orochimaru was still more than 10 meters away from the two, but the situation in the field had already turned around, and danger seemed to have come to Ishigamihara. Seeing this, Orochimaru's pupils shrank slightly, and he was also anxious. But just when Orochimaru thought that the two would be in danger and Rock Shinobi felt that he had already won, an accident happened. It can't be said to be an accident. To be precise, it should be the change that Ishigamihara had planned long ago. Rock Shinobi's face was gradually ferocious and full of murderous intent. But the next moment, he caught a glimpse of Ishigamihara's upturned mouth corners and his 2 raised fingers. Inexplicably, that bad feeling reappeared, but this time Rock Shinobi didn't have time to react. Accompanied by Ishigamihara's light shout, the place where Rock Shinobi had just stepped on instantly ignited a raging flame. Like a torch, the flames shot up into the sky. A shrill scream sounded, and the voice was full of pain. Almost in the blink of an eye, the man had turned into a fireman, and the raging flames swallowed him, and his fate was naturally doomed. It was not until this moment that Orochimaru hurriedly arrived. At this time, Nawaki had also reacted and looked at Ishigamihara in great shock. At this moment, Nawaki admired Ishigamihara. No one knows why he didn't take action immediately. In fact, only Nawaki himself knows. Facing the enemy's fierce and sharp skills, and the fierceness of the enemy when he rushed towards him, Nawaki, who had never really fought, was nervous. The result was that Nawaki was frightened by the enemy's fierceness and didn't respond immediately. But Nawaki never thought that Ishigamihara would be so straightforward and decisive, and his moves were extremely neat. Just 2 ninjutsu plus ninja tools, he easily solved the enemy. Orochimaru immediately made hand seals with his hands, opened his mouth, and spit out several invisible air blades, which fell into the flames, making a puffing sound. The screams stopped abruptly. After doing all this, Orochimaru didn't care about the battle that was not over in the field, but cast his eyes on Ishigamihara. Harakuin's performance is really amazing. Excellent combat intuition coupled with precise ninjutsu release is really a perfect battlefield art. He licked his lips and laughed hoarsely. If I'm not mistaken, you should have used two techniques when you made the seal just now, right? Ishigamihara's face was normal, and he didn't change because of Orochimaru's praise. He was a little surprised that Orochimaru could see through his attack from such a long distance. This alone was already amazing enough. He also did not hide it, and nodded and said, "Indeed, the Water Dragon Bomb technique has 44 seals, and I have been able to simplify it to 6 seals." Orochimaru did not wait for Ishigamihara to finish, and said, "Before you threw those kunai, you had already completed another technique. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the Flame Rush technique. After the Water Dragon Bomb, you also completed the seal of this technique, which was hidden underground by you early, waiting for you to complete the last step to trigger it." He glanced at the fire that was gradually extinguishing. In the flames were several separated bodies, stained with flames, and the blood had been burned clean. So, Yuan Jun, you have already judged the opponent's trajectory from the beginning, and the opponent's possible actions next. Those kunai and steel wires are just traps you set early, waiting for that guy to jump in automatically. What a terrible fighting talent. Nawaki's eyes widened when he listened to the conversation between the two. He reacted only after this moment, and he really understood that the scene just now was exaggerated. And all of this was handled by Ishigamihara in a flash. Speaking of which, Nawaki looked at Ishigamihara, his lips trembling a few times, and finally gave his own evaluation. "You are a monster." 019 Uchiha Izuna's warning Ishigamihara just took it as a compliment from Nawaki, and just smiled and didn't care. Orochimaru was even more satisfied to see that he was neither arrogant nor impatient. Such a genius, I believe, will be able to shine on the battlefield. On the other side, Hyuga Tetsuya and the Ino Shikasi team quickly dealt with the remaining 2 people. After all, their 4-person team can be said to be the most elite configuration among the Konoha Shinobi team, and it is not a problem to deal with 2 enemies from Rock Shinobi. Especially the cooperation of Ino Shikasi. The 3 people are more tacit than ordinary teams, and they complement each other more. With a Hyuga Jinin to support them, it is really difficult to lose in this situation. "Master Orochimaru, it has been solved," Hyuga Tetsuya reported. "What did you gain?" Orochimaru asked. Hyuga Toru also shook his head, and then said, "It's a normal Rock Shinobi team, and there is nothing special to find." "Can you confirm their ID code?" Orochimaru asked again. Hyuga Toru still shook his head. Seeing this, Orochimaru couldn't help but sneer. Yes, if they dare to come to perform such a mission, their identities will naturally be kept secret. It seems that Rock Shinobi has many spies in the village. Hyuga Toru was silent for a while, and then he couldn't help asking, "Master Orochimaru, do you need to inform the village about this matter?" Orochimaru nodded and ordered, "Inform the village of what happened here, and we don't need to worry about other things." "Yes, Master Orochimaru." Soon, Yamanaka, Ijuro, and Ino Shikasi formed seals with both hands and used the summoning technique to summon a ninja dog. Seeing that Ishigamihara looked at him with curiosity, Yamanaka, Ijuro said, "Harakun wants the summoning beast?" "Just curious," Ishigamihara said. Yamanaka, Ijuro smiled and said, "If Harakun needs it, you can go to the Inuzuka clan. Their ninja dogs are very good. If you want a ninja cat, you can also contact it through the Uchiha." Ishigamihara just nodded slightly, not surprised. Izuna had already told him about these Uchiha, but he didn't have any thoughts about the summoning beast for the time being. "Thank you for telling me." "You're welcome. Harakun, just contact me if you need it." As he spoke, Yamanaka Ijuro had already written the information on the scroll and then handed it to the ninja dog, letting the ninja dog carry it away. After doing all this, Orochimaru ordered, "Next, we will change the route and keep silent throughout the whole process." "Yes, Lord Orochimaru." Everyone quickly dealt with the battlefield and then left without staying. During the whole process, Nawaki was hesitant to speak, but Orochimaru did not give him a chance to speak. The silence throughout the whole process should be Orochimaru giving Nawaki time to reflect. It depends on whether Nawaki can see through it. Ishigamihara saw that he was frowning all the way, and he was obviously still immersed in the previous battle. It is obvious that Nawaki is not satisfied with his performance, but Ishigamihara does not intend to explain this matter. Some things must be figured out by oneself. Uchiha Izuna's evaluation of Ishigamihara surprised him a little. To be honest, Ishigami never thought that he would hear praise from Uchiha Izuna. The battle just now was not bad. These are Uchiha Izuna's original words. It can be seen that it is not easy for Uchiha Izuna to say such words. Ishigamihara raised his lips and responded in his mind. What do you mean? Humph. Uchiha Izuna naturally couldn't bear to see Ishigamihara's complacency and immediately snorted. But compared to our time, you are still far behind. Especially those 4 rock shinobi trash. They were solved so easily, too bad. About the current situation of the ninja world, Ishigamihara naturally told Uchiha Izuna, so the latter is not completely ignorant. Thinking about it, the situation in the ninja world during the Sengoku period was far more cruel than it is now. It was a fight between families, a fight to the death, and there was no compromise at all. Although there are wars in the current ninja world, the environment during the interval between the ninja world wars is still peaceful. It is said that a comfortable environment can wear down people's hearts the most, and no one can deny this. Ishigamihara doesn't care about this. The current battles are indeed not as good as those in the Sengoku period, which is also a reality. But I didn't expect you to be able to use the Uchiha-style blade technique without the help of the Sharingan. Uchiha Izuna said. Ishigamihara said, this thing is not difficult. It's nothing more than the operation under the coordination of hand and eye. As long as the eyesight is sufficient and the hands are not chaotic, you can do it. Humph, don't say it so lightly. Even among the Uchiha clan, there are not many who can do this at your age. Ishigamihara smiled slightly. I will take it as a compliment. Uchiha Izuna's voice paused, and then he said, Kid, be careful of that man. Are you referring to Orochimaru? Ishigamihara asked with interest. Well, that man has noticed you. This kid gives me the feeling, not simple. Hearing this, Ishigamihara smiled. It should be said that he is a famous strong man in the Sengoku period. Even if he is dead, this keen insight is extremely extraordinary. Orochimaru is indeed not simple. Even if he is not at the Uncle Snake stage yet, his talent cannot be denied. I will pay attention. I think he will not have any bad intentions towards me. Ishigamihara said, I don't care, kid. Don't die on the battlefield. The Uchiha clan's arrogant temperament is fully reflected in Uchiha Izuna. However, Ishigamihara inexplicably felt that he might have some unexpected gains on the battlefield this time. 020 A sudden attack on the battlefield. The western part of the river country has now become a battlefield. Since the First Ninja World War, the 5 major countries in the ninja world have tacitly placed the battlefield in the small countries adjacent to each other and have not affected their own land. Whether it is the river country, the rain country, or the grass country, they are all positioned in the Ninja World War, which can be regarded as the natural sadness of small countries. Ishigamihara looked at the broken environment around him, frowned slightly, and did not have too much feeling. This kind of thing was so in the past life and in this life. No matter which world, war will always bring only destruction and pain. Konoha Camp, where the body is built as a whole, there are patrolling ninjas everywhere, and the guard force is even more spread over dozens of kilometers. It can be said that water cannot be poured in. The frontline commander here is none other than Hatake Tsukumo, who is known as Konoha's White Fang. This person became famous in the early days of the Second Ninja World.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.